everybody. Welcome to Frame Trap. This is a show where we talk about the games we've been playing, as well as just things going on in the industry, or music, or wrestling sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
It could happen.
All of it.
Nobody knows the flow of this show better than Michael Huber,
Hello.
who's sitting right next to me.
I've been going for a while. It feels like
You have been gone for a while.
I've been on it's been like three ago maybe now.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know.
It's been a while.
Because I wasn't sure who the third person was going to be, and I hear the gate open, and I'm like, Michael Huber? Michael Huber? There he is.
I've missed you.
Oh, I missed you too.
Your skin is looking extra healthy.
I got some sun, dude.
Yeah, you
I'm
did get some sun.
I'm vitamin D deficient, so I have to pace it out. I have to walk in the sun for 20 minutes at a time, go inside, because then I'll burn sometimes too. So it's I'm on this rhythm of getting some sun, going inside, getting some sun, a little exercise.
Very occasionally, people back home will be like, "Oh, have you gotten a tan since you've been out in California?" And the answer is always, "No, I've actually gotten more pale." Yeah.
I burn pretty bad unless I manage it.
I can't tan. I
really
just burn.
hard.
I burn super quick.
Sure.
But last but not least, already chiming in there a little bit, Brandon Jones.
I've lived in California all my life. Super white guy.
Yep. That's okay. That's
Super
okay.
pale.
You've got the voice.
Glowing pale. Right.
You've got the voice. Question for you, Brandon, because I don't think I've ever directly asked you this. To this day, I don't want to if I want to say alarming, but a surprising number of people think that you do all of the reviews for Easy Allies, as they did at GameTrailers.com.
Wow, I didn't know that carried over to Easy Allies. They still, even though because we didn't credit at Game Trailers, that was the problem. Whereas you can
Right.
see on the screen
Yeah.
who wrote it.
Every once in a while, I'll be like, "Oh man, another great review by Brandon Jones."
Love it.
How do you feel about that?
I'll take credit where credit is not due.
Okay. Okay,
Anytime.
so you're at a convention, and somebody comes up to you and they're like, "Man, I can't believe how many reviews you do."
I will not correct them.
Okay. All right. It's good to get there out in the open, I think.
I'll never steal something from you, but if
Yeah.
it's already been stolen, I won't give it back.
Is it just like a thanks? Is it just a nod?
You got it.
You got it. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
The legend of Brandon grows.
Just you focus on how tired I am. Like, oh yeah, it's grueling.
Has that happened to you at an event or something? Have somebody coming up to you and they've been like, "Hey, Brandon, thanks for doing this thing that you totally didn't do."
No, that's not. But I might see that on social media or something. And it's mostly in the comments, right? So I don't spend a ton of time there in the comments, so that's why I might miss that stuff. But feel free to correct them, if it's something that you wrote. Feel free feel free to jump in there. I'll back you up. If they read your comment and then come back to me, I'll back you up.
I really don't care that much. It's just kind of funny.
It is.
Because it's like, "Oh man, can't believe Brandon reviewed this."
Well, you got somebody it's nuts like the completionist who
Right.
platinums a game in a week, and so
Right.
it's who knows this weird. These weird dimensions that exist on the internet where people just can accomplish so much in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I was
Or
watching.
it seems that way.
He's doing this new Game Plus thing, and he went back to Mega Man 1 through 3, and he was talking about his channel, and he was like, "Man, it was growing really fast, and I figured out the only way to make it happen is to not sleep." I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right."
Yep.
But yeah, I was telling these guys right before we shot, we have so many things to talk about. Most of the things on our list are not current.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
Throwback.
fun.
I was excited
It's kind
about
of
that.
fun. Yeah.
Leading up to this.
One of them is old but relevant.
Oh.
Oh. You know what it is, Jones.
Old but relevant.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's super relevant, and what you declared, you had an aha moment that you have to talk about this.
Yeah.
That you feel super passionate about.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Destiny 2 Warmind.
Destiny 2 got old overnight. This game.
You think so? That fast?
Yeah.
One day?
No, okay. So I really enjoyed Destiny 2. I really liked it. And, gearing up for the raid and doing the raid with some allies and Hedgie and everyone was a great time. And some moments that I'll never forget. Destiny has those moments, those unforgettable moments when you're with a team and you're doing a raid or you're doing Trials in the Nine or something. So I really liked it. And then, it went through kind of a lull and it was really slowing down. There wasn't a lot of new updates. And then the first expansion came out, Curse of Osiris, and it was filler. It didn't do much. It promised the infinite forest, which sounded like this really cool late game, end game type, grind this thing out. And it was not. It was just a loading area basically into a new zone. It was like very strange. So anyway, the new expansion comes out, and I've been away for a long time. I've been away for many months.
Since Curse of Osiris,
Since
right?
I got Curse of Osiris, beat it, and was like, okay, I'm good. Now, in between those releases, they've been updating the game quite a bit because the community is upset, and Destiny is not in a good place. And they've been adding things like masterwork weapons, which, like, they're trying to cater to more grinding and to make it longer to get max power level, which is your light now. They've changed it to power in Destiny 2. So they made all these tweaks, which I've been keeping note of, and I'm like, all right, this is good. You know, going into expansion 2 is going to be great because they made all these free updates, and then now the expansion's coming. So we get the expansion.
So preparing for heartbreak.
Yeah, and we get this expansion, and it just feels so dated now. You're fighting the same enemies. You're going to the same locations, which I excused when Destiny 2 first launched. It was like, okay, this is the base, you know? In a weird way, we kind of had to start over when we went from Destiny 1 to 2, and, you know, we're gonna get back up. We're gonna build it back up.
See, that's actually something I wanted to comment on.
Yeah.
So I've been out of Destiny even longer than you have. I haven't played Curse of Osiris, but we did the raid together, and
Yes.
I was on the hook for a while.
So cool, right?
And the impression that I got from Destiny 2 was this was a good foundation. This was a good
Yes.
first step. It was encouraging,
Very.
especially considering the tumultuous life of Destiny 1.
Yeah.
But I think kind of that optimism hung on, hey, those updates better be really good and
Yeah.
it better be exciting. And it's just, from an outside perspective, it just doesn't feel like they've been able... They're torpedoing their own momentum.
Yes.
Constantly. Like over and over and over again.
Over and over. And it's so frustrating because Destiny 1 and 2, just the entire franchise, I feel is locked in this state of so much hope and possibility and so much missed opportunity.
I have to ask
both.
I don't want to jump in front of you because you got a lot
Yeah.
to talk about, but like I have to wonder: is this because Bungie just doesn't get it and they keep making quote unquote mistakes, or have they just bitten off more than they can chew? Is this too much to ask of a team like that to create new looking enemies with new AI, to constantly release new maps, multiplayer co-op?
Yeah, I hate to say it,
Is
but
it possible?
I feel like they bit off more than they can chew because just going back into the game now, it's been out for about 8 months, and I said it felt old. It feels old now. When Destiny 2 first came out, it was like, it kind of reminds me of 1, but, you know, it still looks great. Also, it hasn't aged well on PS4, and it came out first on PS4, so a lot of people's characters are there, which you cannot transfer to PC, which came out later. And exclusive content is on PlayStation, so if you want the most content, you have to play on the worst version of the game. So just in a short amount of time, the game has aged so much, and while I was playing, I was thinking, like, they wanted this game to last for 10 years, like Destiny 2, Destiny 3, like, this game needs a drastic overhaul, and I think you start with the presentation. You know, the story has been criticized for so long, and while I understand that there's great lore there, when you really, really dig deep, for the average player, and for me personally, it's always been about bad presentation. Like, the story and stuff sounds cool with Rasputin and the Warmind and this infinite forest and possibilities and Osiris, like, trying to change the future and the Vex and all that. All that's cool, but it isn't presented in a great way. I'm never attached to any one specific character. I'm not invested in any type of stakes because, you know, the focus is on the community as a whole. They try to emphasize, oh, you the Guardian, but it's like all of us together. So I think they're in need of a big overhaul, and you start with presentation because it's going to be hard to just retool the entire game.
So I guess a couple of questions based on what you're saying. With Warmind, does it just feel like the central problem that you're describing to me is that it's like copy pasted.
It's copy paste. Like. Yeah, there's like a couple. So the Hive now. There's like Frozen Hive. That's the new enemy. So they're.
And I saw hashtag in his tweet. He's like, It's gonna be blue Hive. I'm calling it right now. It's literally just Hive and they're blue.
Yeah, like it just keep like make them blue, make them green, make them yellow, make them. It's just so absurd. There was a couple cool boss fights in there, and it definitely does feel like they're trying to gate you behind power level now. Like I had to kind of grind an adventure and kind of a daily quest before I could get back into the main quest. The main quest is short; it's like 2 hours. There's like 5 missions, and that's pretty much what I finished. I heard there is kind of like a horde mode, but I'm not geared up for that yet. But everything else just seems like copy paste. You're fighting the same enemies in the same locations, and just the presentation and the mechanics are dated. Like again, there was a cool boss fight where you kind of had to manage things, but I don't know.
So when I talk about Destiny, I always have a little bit of hesitancy because I would never consider myself like a diehard Destiny player. I played it for a while. I had my time with it and was ready to jump out, and everything they've added since then has not been enough to pull me back in.
Yeah.
And so that's the perspective that I'm coming at
Totally.
it from, where it's like, okay, if this sounds exciting enough, I might jump back in. But I feel like that's very different than what the I play Destiny every day player wants. What is that side of the community looking for? What are their frustrations? Why amongst them is Warmind so frustrating?
So Warmind, again, like with all these updates and with Warmind, there's always hope with Destiny 2, and again, that's why it's so frustrating. I feel like they're taking steps to cater to the most hardcore players. They've added masterwork weapons, which you can grind out specific stat rolls for your weapons. You can like re-roll different perks like range and damage. I feel like the armor is the next step. Really doubling down on armor, maybe more armor sets, more unique armors, more different stats with your armor. Like make me hone in on that RPG stuff. When Taken King came out, they doubled down on like the RPG-ness of it. Get back into that where it's like, yo, I'm going on this strike or this strike. Let me gear up like with my poison resistance or my more damage DPS on this one. Like let me have to change and collect armors to kind of have a slight advantage in different playlists. I think that would be cool.
So not only are they extending the treadmill, and the treadmill's super boring, but there's not even enough stuff that's worth chasing after?
Correct. And where I left the game, the best loot was locked behind the Eververse Trading Company, which is the real money silver that you can buy. And that's just wrong. Like that, like you want me to grind and just level up to maybe get the coolest looking gear that's cosmetic. Like make me do the hard stuff, which I think they've gotten to now. There's more specific strike armor, more specific raid armor. So they're making pushes. It's just, is it going to be enough? That's where I'm always in this. Well, Destiny's really fun, but it's also showing its age now.
How much is Warmind?
$20.
Okay.
So
I've heard the sentiment with Warmind, which I've not played, that you can sneeze and it's over.
You sneeze
basically.
and it's over. And that's why you got to be extra harsh on it, because it's like, this is one of the highest budget games. It's one of the biggest companies. And we spent over $100 on Destiny 1. Now we've spent, again, if you're a current Destiny player, we've spent hundreds of dollars now. And the game is just not where they promised it would be. It's just not in a good state. Like, there was so much hope and possibility when Destiny 2 first came out. Like, you look at a game like Fortnite that is just constantly updating, constantly mixing the game up, adding new modes, adding new, like, all this fun stuff.
50v50 came back.
50v50. And it's like Destiny has Trials of the Nine and like some other weekly events that kind of come around and like Iron Banner, but they've been doing that forever. Like they need some new stuff, new events, new ways to play.
I feel like with any constantly online game, there are ups and downs that you have to expect.
Totally.
And sometimes I think just because something is in a down period, people can overreact. On a long enough timeline, not everything's always going to be firing at 10. That's going to happen.
Totally.
It just sort of feels like we've been on the downward slope for a long time
many
with Destiny
months.
2.
And this article came out where in September it's going to be year 2, and they're going to have their big Taken King thing because I think they outsourced Hive Warmind. Don't fully quote me on that, but I know it.
Partial quote.
Yeah, so it wasn't 100% Bungie working on it because they've probably been toiling away at this giant Taken King style expansion that's going to be another $30 or $40. So, they invited YouTubers to come and to play, and I guess the YouTubers were really excited, and they've quoted now they've hyped it up, Jones. Right. They've said the new expansion for Destiny 2 now after Warmind coming in September that's going to be shown at E3 is a new way to experience first-person shooters.
Oh boy.
Now that wasn't quote for quote, but it was something along those lines of we've got new ways to play. We've got a new thing. You're going to love it.
New color of Hive.
So exactly. Yeah, they're going to be.
But I'm just kidding.
But Ben,
I'm just kidding.
Ben, I think that's what you're waiting for with Destiny 2 is, take Thanos in Fortnite. I don't know how you experience social media, but I'm not hearing all the Fortnite love coming just from Epic.
Right.
I'm seeing clips. I'm hearing, seeing people streaming that and laughing and joking about it. I'm hearing other people talking about that. Of course, Huber talks about everything, but I'm getting a sentiment from people outside of the company that this is something to be excited about too.
For Destiny 2?
And for Fortnite.
Right.
Whereas for Destiny, I'm lucky if I even hear it from Bungie, where I go on social media and I almost never hear the sentiment that yes, this is unmissable. You have to check out this new content.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, I understand that these two things are slightly different with what they're trying to accomplish, but you look at something like Fortnite, right, and you look at this Thanos event, that's a free thing.
Yeah.
Anyone can download Fortnite for free and play it, and it's a great mode. So great that I've seen people be like, hey, we want this all the time.
Yeah.
It's like a company that is doing so much right, and then they just slam dunk. They totally didn't need to do this. It's not like Fortnite was going down without the Thanos event.
Yeah.
Right? It was a snowball that just kept getting bigger.
Yeah.
Whereas what you're describing with Destiny, this sort of big, vague thing in the distance, it's like a fire's going on, and they're like, just wait a few months.
Just wait.
It's not the position you want to be in.
No, and it sounds like we're being extremely harsh and critical, but again, it's just because of the road we've traveled now, coming from Destiny 1 into 2, and kind of this lull and, the lack of communication with Bungie. There was just a couple months there where, I think it was in December, where the community was just so upset about everything. And, Bungie's trying to put out the fire. They had to delay some live events because they needed to, pivot and change. And that's why Warmind is such a bummer, is because it's all right, new big expansion. Here we go. This is going to be the first step into the rise of Destiny 2 again, and it just feels like we're running in place again.
Brandon.
Yeah.
The sentiment that I get from Huber and from other people who play Destiny is that they're frustrated, but they want to like Destiny.
Yes.
They want to see
Yes.
Destiny do well. Yes. My question to you is that due to a lack of competition? Is that due to a lack of something that feels like Destiny that is as good as Destiny? Whereas, again, kind of going back to this comparison, you don't see as much fervor around PUBG as you used to because of a very direct competitor like Fortnite that is offering a lot of competition. Do you think that's true in the case of SC2? Does it need that competition, or is there still room for it to succeed because of a lack of competition?
Well, I think one of the most difficult things, for some reason, Star Citizen is floating around in my brain right now because and this is not even a game that we're playing. This is something that's been talked about and rumored about for so long.
Right.
And I think from the beginning, from the first time I heard about Star Citizen, they were like, "This is going to change your life." And I'm like, "Oh my god! This sounds really fascinating. All the stuff that you're putting together." Where when Fortnite came out, I was like, hey, Fortnite. Even PUBG, when it came out, it was like, hey, let's come shoot each other. Woo! It's not this this is going to change your life. You need to just play this and nothing else. And so I think people are just kind of naturally gravitating towards these experiences that don't set themselves up. I think the 10-year thing shot them in the foot because they were like, this is going to be something that is going to be worth investing in for so long. Or even something like World of Warcraft now that's been around forever. I think you can kind of pick and choose when an expansion comes out. Is this interesting to me? Is this the time to jump back in or invest more in this game? where it feels like if the audience doesn't invest in Destiny, then this is really going to hurt this company and really hurt this game. And so I think people not only played Destiny because it was exciting, because they like Bungie, because they like first-person shooters and co-op, and they have friends that are interested in it, but it's almost like if I don't level up, I'm not going to be ready for the next thing. I'm not going to be prepared. It's why people were so hurt initially when they announced that Destiny 2 is just going to wipe the slate clean, with their stats and everything and stuff. A lot of stuff wasn't going to carry over because they're like, it's kind of the idea that I had, that like I'm not only investing because I'm interested in it, but I'm investing because it's almost like a promise we have together, that like for me as a player and you as a developer, that this is almost like a university course I'm signing up for, that like I need to go to class every week, or I'm going to fail the big test when it comes up. I'm not going to be ready. And so I think that's why you see these other games succeeding, is because there's just so much less stress. There's so much less, story, which is unfortunate because you were saying that you wanted them to get more lore focused, but like the biggest games right now have little to no story at all. It's just fun modes. It's just adding not a big thing that's coming out months from now, but just like one tiny new character, one tiny new mode. And almost everything the Fortnite releases is very careful to have to have text there that says, we're trying this out. What do you think? Let us know. If you don't like it, we won't do this again. Where a lot of stuff with Destiny is, this is it, deal with it. Like we can't pivot now. We can't change this next week. We just have to take our lumps here, and then maybe 3 or 4 months down the road, we'll do some other big thing. And those expectations just get built up so much that it is, like I was saying earlier, the sentiment where it's like, I think it's almost impossible at this point to satisfy fans, not to just make them happy, but really slam dunk and turn the whole thing around.
I can't even believe that it's been out for this long and there's one raid. There's one raid. Now, a raid lair came out with expansion 1, which was a smaller one, which was cool, but it was very small. And now a new one comes out today, when we're filming this, a new raid lair. 2 small little things, but like, there's only one big raid? We spent $100 on the first game, $100 now that we're on the hook for, like, $100 on this game, and their promise of it being the big, like, you're gonna say that Destiny is the biggest game. You're gonna say that the 10-year plan and all this, and that, this should be the game you play, and you're gonna have one raid.
Well, what do you need for the raid? You need voiceover, right? So there's a script.
Little bit.
Well, but there's a script written for it, and it's got to fit into the story somehow.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, again, these other modes, these other like service games that you're supposed to be playing on a regular basis can just drop something in with it's literally just a small team that can just kind of put that together. From my understanding, just from my perspective of what, from what it looks like it takes to create new content for Destiny.
But like, are we asking for too much? Like, shouldn't there be more raids at this point? Right? You want your players to stick around, like, give us something to do, have the raids give different rewards, like, make me grind really hard to get all that stuff. And it's like, nah. Just get your Eververse.
To go back to what I was saying a little bit earlier, and to help clarify, it's not that Destiny doesn't have any competition. There are things like The Division, there are things like Warframe, there are games that have come out and been successful, but I think specifically there's this, when Destiny is at its best, it feels like it captures people, a lot of people. It has kind of this platform that other games can't get to. And then I think about something maybe like an Anthem. Is Destiny, this frustration that is constantly being generated, is it setting itself up for somebody else to eat its lunch?
I am so hyped for Anthem.
Are you? Is part of your hype for Anthem?
Because I'm so over Destiny right now.
Is that it? Is that what's fueling it,
100%. Like, I am burning now to just play Anthem because I want to see what's up. I want to see what they do. And games are just moving so fast. And that's what that's the thing I was thinking about the most. When I say that Destiny 2 feels old, it does, because you're going into these tiny little linear rooms and shooting a bunch of thrall that are just coming at you, and it's like we need more now. Like, games are moving way too fast. Games are telling stories that make us cry and weep and that we can't stop thinking about, or offer insanely awesome puzzles that make us feel smart, or just rewarding combat. Like, games are moving faster than they've ever moved, and so it's going to be harder to maintain and keep up.
I want to touch on this, and I want to throw this to Brandon as well, to bring up your own examples. You're talking about games moving faster than ever, and there's been a lot of fuss made over games as a service and people being worried that everything is going to become games as a service, but that's just not happening. It feels like there are so many things that are coming out. You know, we've spent the last several frame traps talking at length about God of War. You know, that is a great, super, like fairly long single player game that is coming out. There is a lot happening within video games in general. There are so many facets of gaming that seem to be doing really, really well right now.
Yeah.
And so the question that I have to you is, as somebody who likes to play everything, much like me, I'm somebody who likes to play everything. Brandon, you play a lot of stuff too. When you constantly want new stuff, but you also are going to get seduced by other things, and so you want the thing that you like to constantly be updated, but also easy to jump back into, how do you make that? Like, how do you simultaneously always please the people that are playing every day and the people that just check in once in a while and the people who haven't played yet? It just feels like these games, Destiny included, Anthem, how do you solve that problem, like, throughout the entire lifespan of the game?
Fortnite, I'm sorry, it's the new Souls. What I love is that with things in Fortnite, the challenges unlock every week, so you're encouraged to come back every week, kind of check those out. They offer fun new ways to play and fool around, but you know what you're working towards. You know, you're like, oh, that level 70 thing, that's going to take a while, but when I hit it, I'll get it. Awesome. I don't want anything in Destiny. Like the going back now, the taunts, they just added, like, now instead of one equipable taunt, you can have 4. And it's like there's the little dances, but it's like there's no fire there. Like, the reason taunts are so awesome in Fortnite is because they add the music and they add the flair and the flashiness, and it's like these feel so hollow. And you know, you're getting a random engram of a random gun with random numbers, and it's like, that's okay. Like, you know, if I go into a raid, let me have a random chance of getting, like, the best stuff. Cool.
Sure,
but it's like, also maybe give me one avenue in Destiny 2 where I can work towards something tangible, something I see, something I know. Like, if I just put in a little bit of time, I will get that exact thing. So maybe have your random hardcore raids and stuff, but then maybe also have your overarching, like, seasonal thing where it's like, yo, if you know, I'm thinking of the battle pass. I'm trying to incorporate the battle pass mentality into Destiny, but not at the expense of anything else.
This might be a slightly unfair comparison, but I still kind of have that feeling nonetheless. Whereas with Destiny, sometimes it feels like what you're doing is so similar to what you've done 1,000 times that the only thing you care about is the thing at the end.
Exactly.
Where you should care about the process too.
Yeah.
Like, the thing
It's
you're
the
doing,
presentation,
killing
man.
whatever it is you need to kill, that should still be fun on a fundamental level. And I think talking about Fortnite, at least right now in this moment, it's still super fun. Like, whether you are just starting out or whether you're doing it a lot and you care about completing all the challenges and all that stuff, the fundamental game is still so interesting because there are so many variables to it. And when they add new things, which they're doing all the time, new weapons, that feels different and that's exciting. Whereas what you're describing to me with Warmind is like, they have all this stuff at the end, and that stuff maybe is kind of cool and moving in the right direction, but doing the stuff to get there is boring. It's just boring.
Yeah, you meet this new character, Bray, and she's cool, but it's like, there's no attachment to anyone. And Destiny 2, they always do a really good job of, like, making things sound awesome, so you go look it up. It's like, get ready, Guardian. We're about to go fight a god. And it's like, what? We are? Who? Like, who is that? Why? Like, there's just so, like, I know the most devout hardcore Destiny people are probably so angry right now because it's like, well, you gotta look into that stuff. And it's like, that's cool, but I like looking into side lore for a game when it is exactly that. When you can dig deep and find some extra bits.
Yes.
Like, Destiny 2 doesn't even have a foundation unless you go outside of the game to go look at things.
Build it yourself.
Because the story is just told so poorly.
Brandon, do you think a lot of this frustration has to do with the price tag? Because when we do weekly hunts every week, we're always kind of excited when there's a new thing. Even if it's just a simple event where you can do it a few times and get the item, we're excited about it because it was free.
And they're brought that up, man.
They're
Monster
adding,
Hunter.
yeah, they're adding new stuff all the time, and that stuff is varying degrees of substantial. The new Siege.
But how special does every one of those events feel? Anytime
But
add...
but the question is, do they feel special because they're free? Like, would people be so upset at Destiny 2 if this $20 was $0?
They're special because they're free and because they're limited, so it feels important and urgent.
Right.
Maybe Destiny could take a page out of that. Like, yo, just this week, earn this armor, saddle up, get in there.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'm in. I want that. That armor looks sick. I'm going to get that and keep it, and like nobody's ever going to be able to get it unless you play at this exact moment.
So what that says to me is kind of what Brandon was touching on. They're just victims of their own expectations.
Yeah.
Like if you get out there and say like, hey, a couple months, here we got this $20 expansion coming out and it's going to be awesome, and then it's not, wouldn't that be much better than if you just like said, hey, next week we're doing a limited event and it's free? Is that not feasible based on the development costs of Destiny?
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I think that's the position that they're in. I know we keep bringing up Fortnite, but Fortnite seems like the anti-Destiny because Destiny was like big publisher, big investment, big budget. So we need a big, response from our community spending a lot of dollars to make this happen. Whereas Fortnite came out and then just almost kind of like seemed like their head spun with how big it ended up being. And so then you have, the development team and the marketing team just kind of scrambling to be like, all right, we gotta, take all these resources out of Save the World and pump them into Battle Royale to try to match the interest and bring a lot of new stuff to them. And I think also, one thing that deserves a lot of credit because we're talking about development, but like the marketing for Fortnite is really great. The fact that Thanos dropped within 24 hours and people were checking that out. So there wasn't a lot of questions that we had to ask. How's he going to control? What's going to happen? Like we were playing it before we really had time to think about it. The comments that were crashing onto Battle Royale leading up to the fact that was just organic.
Exactly.
The fact that you had a streamer on Twitch that was the first announcement that I saw of that. Some guy being like, wait, what the hell just happened?
More mystery in this.
Some comment just took out that tree, and he did a replay and was like, "What?"
But what's really weird is last generation we were having the same kind of conversations that we were having about Fortnite with Destiny.
That's why I'm bringing it up, and I hope people aren't frustrated because they both are massive multiplayer
they're
games.
Absolutely comparable.
Yes.
I remember so many articles and so much excitement and exciting streams of people being like, "Wait, this thing has this whole hidden element to it that we have to figure out and piece together as a community." Right. I'm just not hearing those stories anymore. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I'm not hearing about them
Monster
anymore.
Hunter's a great example because I think the way Capcom approached this, which was really smart, and I think games like Street Fighter and stuff like that, they got burnt on, and so they were like, okay, we really got to be smart about these little tiny updates that we get, and they very wisely did not make them really big tentpole things that is just, if we swing and miss, it's a big fail and everyone's going to be frustrated for months. But what if we break those things up into tiny things so that if you're not into it this week, that's fine. Go play God of War. We'll see you next week when it's, Dante. Like, I gotta get Dante, if you're not, if just this doesn't incentivize you, there might be something interesting the next time. And so now moving on to Anthem, because I definitely, I don't know if this is smoke and mirrors, but I definitely get much more of a exploration vibe from Anthem where, I don't know if they were faking that in the demo that they did where, we're organically very, scriptedly like watching these 4 quote unquote players like live going through this play session. But the way they tried to sell it is very much like, let's go do this thing. And then maybe on the way there, other stuff will just happen while we're in the world. And so I, was fascinated when we were watching you play, Battle Royale, and you were like, the hatch. And this is just some like metal thing in a forest. But like there's all this mystique around it.
Speculation.
And it's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. It is just an object in this massive map. But like lore comes up out of the community about it. And so it'd be really interesting if there were those little Easter eggs to find in the Anthem map or little tiny hints at things that are happening. So if I sign on and, okay, my friends are doing a raid right now, I don't have time, I got 45 minutes, let me just run around, that's viable, that I can just like fly around and turn on my jets and just go soaring up over that mountain, Breath of the Wind style and Anthem, just to see what's there, maybe see if something changed or
Breath of the Wind.
Maybe there are type of enemies that only spawn in certain locations, hunts that you can do,
Right.
to take a step from Monster Hunter. But I think Monster Hunter is a great example. I think Monster Hunter maybe learned a lot from Destiny and how they can attract an online audience and keep them satisfied week to week instead of month to month or even year to year.
I also think that Monster Hunter doesn't overthink it.
Yeah.
Doesn't take itself too seriously.
Well, if you're playing this Capcom game that you're really excited about, and you can make your cat fucking Mega Man, that's pretty cool.
Yes. Yes.
And it's not overthinking it. It's not hyping it up to be more than it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's exciting on its face, just doing a hunt, hearing Mega Man music that's different with the weapon. Like, it's catering to that specific audience.
But
It's
if you're
giving them what
way
they
into
want.
Monster Hunter and that's world breaking for you and kind of frustrating, if you're like, no, I'm actually really into the lore of this world, I don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't have to take it. Like if you're
Right.
in a group with if you have a good 4 persons, is the cap 4 in Monster Hunter?
Yeah.
So if you and 3 other friends go and do that, and you don't want that immersion broken at all, you don't have to. It's not going to invade your game. Like you can still just focus on the main campaign, focus on the stuff. But if you like to get goofy, it's out there anyway. I think Fortnite's just inherently goofy, which is why they do that stuff more often.
Totally. There are some mysteries, obviously, at the end game of Warmind. The different items and go on these quest lines, which are cool. But it's stuff we've done before. It's like go here and kill these things, or it gives you a riddle or whatever. And
you're going to the same areas.
Exactly, you're going to the same areas, and I really kind of wind this down. I feel like this is kind of a turning point with the gaming industry now. You have the new young hotness, the up and coming Fortnite, taking the world by storm, changing the way we play and look at our games now. And like whether you like it or not, Fortnite has changed things. And now we go back into this Destiny 2, which was, one of the top games and something that was supposed to be carried on for a long time, kind of the future. What's going to happen with Call of Duty now and Battlefield? Like, these games coming out, are we going to have these similar situations where it's like, wow, kind of Battlefield kind of feels old now, or Call of Duty kind of feels old. Like, I'm kind of worried that these franchises are not going to take enough chances and take enough risk, and they're kind of just going to rest on their laurels and maybe, have a couple innovations here and there, but still maintain the status quo, because Destiny is always going to be in a position where it wants to sell 1 billion copies and have every single person play, but it also wants its hardcore committed fan base to be really happy. So you have to somehow cater to both camps, and I don't envy Bungie's position in that sense.
We've said a lot about Destiny 2
You can be
and its
okay,
latest
Hubert.
expansion.
I'm with you, okay. I loved when Destiny is going.
The reason we spent 33 minutes on this is because I think all of us,
And I think it's an important
especially
conversation.
Huber, but all of us we want Destiny to succeed.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, we want to be on the top of that wave.
One of the best co-op games you can play, period. I don't think that's an overstatement or an overhype. I really do. Like, when Destiny 2 is cooking and when you're with buddies, culmination.
Brandon, I want to talk about something that I hope will put a smile on your face, because it put a smile on my face, a much bigger smile than I was expecting. And the reason I checked this out, part of the reason, I also had a friend in college who really loved it, and I was always curious about it since then, but you recently reminded me to check it out, and you love it apparently. There is a demo out for PixelJunk Monsters 2.
Oh my god! There's a demo?
There's a demo.
Why am I here?
And
Why am I here? I need to go.
And to give you a little bit of back, was it you that was talking about PixelJunk Monsters, or was it Huber?
I played.
I'm hyped on it. I actually didn't play a lot of PixelJunk, but from what I'm hearing, I missed out.
Okay, so maybe it was Huber. Maybe I'm giving credit to Brandon when it was Huber that was the one hyping it
Again,
up.
I will always take the credit, man.
All right, that's fair.
I played 1,000 hours with my roommate
it was
John.
probably you.
Yes,
it's probably you.
It's when I was in college.
You were Brandon in my mind.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh.
But anyway,
dude.
What's on Switch? What is this?
I was playing on PlayStation 4. I believe it is
Okay.
also on Switch. The demo, I believe, is also on Switch.
So hyped.
But I played it on PS4. Don't quote me on that. I think I saw a Game Explain video where they were playing on Switch, but I played it on PS4. Anyway, I thought I didn't like tower defense.
Dude.
Well, I mean, yeah, tower defense. I'm ready.
Yeah, so
I'm ready to talk about tower defense any day.
I've fiddled around with tower defense before, and I always thought it was boring, and I always thought they were kind of the same thing. PixelJunk Monsters 2, you kind of, I don't know if it just, the tower defense thing got into my veins, but I just kind of zoned out, and the presentation of it was so charming, so adorable, almost like kind of Patapony vibes, I guess.
Did you play one?
No, I didn't play anyone. This is my first experience with PixelJunk Monsters. And I had such a good time, and there were little tiny things that I had just such a thrill doing. So to explain it for people who don't understand, you've got this tribe that you've got to protect, and you're like this chieftain, and you wear this mask and you have this shell on, and what's cool is as you do well in the map, you can go get coins, which you can get different masks, and they're really fun and different shells. But you're in this forest, or at least I was in this forest. There's just one stage. You're in this forest, and you can go and you can turn trees into different towers. And so you have cannons, which can bombard things, but they can only hit ground units. You've got these giant bows that can hit aerial and ground units, but they're a little bit weaker. And then you've got anti-air turrets as well. And it's cool because you're not... It's very, very simple because, like, in other tower defense, it's like, where do I want to put this? Or it's like, okay, here are the spots specifically where you can put it, and you have to, like, fiddle around with planting it. Here you just go up to a tree, and it's like, this tree is now a tower. And that's really great. And when you play on... There were two difficulties. There was fun and tricky in the demo. And once you do tricky... You think you're just so awesome because you got all these cannons and everything set up, and you got people funneling through, but then it'll be like, oh wait, there's an air unit going all the way across on this other side. Did you account for that? No, you lose. And trying to, in the moment, figure out what you want to upgrade. You can upgrade the towers. Occasionally you get gems.
Do you stand on them still to upgrade it?
So you stand. You can do one. You can upgrade in one of two ways. Okay. You can either spend a gem to upgrade the tower
quickly,
or you can stand next to it and it'll start dancing to upgrade it. Yes, and it will level it up.
Yeah.
And depending on the level, it will take more time. So the higher the level, the more time it will take. And because you're moving this little dude around, you have to balance between, like, okay, how much time is it going to take me to get there? Like, you're not some godlike being who can get anywhere on the map immediately, which adds a cool element to it as well. And you have to decide, like, okay, do I spend a gem on this to make it quick? Is that worth it? Do I save up for 2 gems so I can get a bigger upgrade? Do I chant here? And so there's just, it's so easy to understand. Never played PixelJunk Monsters before. I just kind of very lazily scrolled through, like, they had a bunch of windows.
I cannot believe this came out.
Yeah, they had a bunch of windows where you could look things up, and I was like, whatever, I'll just figure it out. And you can. It's so intuitive and easy and charming that you can figure it out. And the art style, it's like this, it's...
a lot of colors.
Yeah, so many colors, but now you can zoom in, and you can get like a big look. So you have a zoomed out view where you're kind of doing a lot of your strategy, but you also have a zoomed in view, and you'll get these like towering stone creatures, so cool. These big golden statues that are hopping around, and it's really fun to zoom in and just kind of peer up at them and go, whoa. And when you kill enemies, coins will bounce all over the place and gems will bounce all over the place. And so that's part of it too, is you might want to zoom in to get a closer look to see where a coin is. You have to run around and collect everything while avoiding enemies. And it was just fun. It felt like this deviously tuned level of strategy where there wasn't so many elements that you had to, and again, it was one stage, so I don't know how crazy things get later on, but in that demo, it felt like there was enough that it would be interesting for way too many hours than you would want to spend on anything.
So many hours.
And not so much that you would get sick of it and become a chore and become tedious, and you'd have to, like... It gave me hope that it's like, if I just think about this a little bit, I can get through this entire game no problem and have a really good time.
Absolutely.
So
the first one, at least.
Yeah, does that kind of describe your experience with PixelJunk Monsters 1?
And the co-op really shakes it up, and I know this one now is going to be 4-player co-op.
Oh, wow.
Which is...
Oh, that's a stream.
Yep. For sure.
4-player local or just online?
I think both.
Oh, boy.
I think it's local. I think it was supposed to be, because I know the first one was local 2-player.
Yeah.
And I know Ian, I'm pretty sure, played PixelJunk Monsters 1 as well. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. My
just
friend
like
in college was like, I spent like, I think he said 200 hours or something. Just a lot of time on it.
So addicting. Also, like the hardest trophies of all time, Monsters 1, I played 1,000 hours and I don't even think I got one trophy. It's like ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah, I forget that you had to do like different things. But what I love about the game is, again, you nailed it, just that you're always one step away from kind of figuring it out.
Yeah.
You know, and the co-op really changes up the way you play because you can like share resources and manage 2 different towers at once, or in this case 4. You kind of split up to different sides of the map and then regroup to buff things up, and that's really fun.
And you dance to upgrade your stuff.
Yes.
Brandon, you mentioned that you were big on tower defense. When you say that, what are the names that come to mind for you?
There's something that actually I'm gonna bring up my phone right now because it's a really fun mobile game that I love playing.
Yeah.
That's called
Yeah,
Origins is the subtitle, but what is the actual name of the studio? Turning the volume down. Kingdom Rush.
Okay.
Oh, I've
Kingdom
played
Rush
that.
is really fun on mobile.
Yeah.
But it also has that charm, and there's a lot of parodies of popular fantasy things, so it makes fun of Ewoks and Lord of the Rings, but what's really great about Kingdom Rush that I'm curious that this game does is, like you were saying, you learn a lesson, like, okay, I didn't know that flying guy was going to go around there. Okay, let's try this again. And Kingdom Rush does a really good job of just all of a sudden a giant worm will come crashing out of the ground. You're like, I didn't know that was there. And it's like, okay, that kicked my ass. Let me go back and try that again. Or a new path will open up. So you're like, well, I'm not going to put towers down there because I don't need to, because I'm taking all care of business over here. And then whoops, now they can sneak right past that thing you built. And so it's not only passing one level, but then mastering that level and getting better scores, and then better scores give you more currency, which levels characters up. And there's the hero aesthetic, which are you actively moving that character with the analog sticks?
Yes.
Or you, okay.
Yep.
Well, in this, it's on the phone, so it's lots of tapping, but they have that different heroes that have different abilities. Of course, I love the Ranger, because he can like attack people from afar, so I can have him on one lane and he's attacking dudes on another lane. But I just love, it's almost like once every 2 or 3 months, I'll go into like specifically the strategy category on the Apple Store and just be like, please give me like a decent tower defense game. Because a lot of times you can just tell from screenshots the aesthetic, like, no, I'm just not jiving with that. And so it's neat that
aesthetic
that you said the aesthetic for this game is really what kind of
so
drives
jolly.
it home.
But the thing is, game's not out yet, but based on PixelJunk Monsters 1,
And
it feels
Shooter,
like
just
all of
the
the
whole
things that you
studio.
enjoy about those phone games without any of the
Yeah.
nastiness attached.
Right.
Like, you don't have to wait to play levels.
Yep.
You don't have to... They're not going to try to
You don't have
throw
to
ads
level
in your
up
face.
you don't have to level up
It's
to
just
play
like
with friends.
it's like all the good with none of the bad.
Yeah.
One thing that this did reinforce about myself, I'm curious to know how you guys play. It's a very negative trait that I have, and it's true in RTSs as well. So like when I play RTSs, I have this terrible tendency that I refuse to get rid of, where I just really like turtling up and building a bunch of stuff and sending in a giant army. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know everybody enjoys doing that, but I think a lot of people eventually learn, like, oh, no, wait, I need to deal with situations as they're happening. Not me.
Yeah.
Like, I will make the missions much longer than they need to because I want this force that eliminates things in seconds. And I was doing that in PixelJunk Monsters 2, where like the enemies were coming in right on this path, and I was like, I'm gonna make this
10
the
cannons.
path of death. Yeah. Just like cannon,
Yeah.
cannon, and just sitting there and just kind of smiling at how good it was. And so when they took this alternate path, I just felt like this biggest
Yeah.
like, of course,
Yeah.
of course they're gonna do this.
When the level, like in one, when you got later down the levels, there were just more paths.
Yeah.
That's really like how they get you.
And I think that's smart for a game like that to you can do minimal effort, or it just kind of exert your possibly very smartly strategic play style.
Right.
Just in the interest of having fun and playing around the systems. And you can like get through the game like that. But if you want to 3-star every level, if you want to, unlock some cool stuff or level up faster throughout the whole campaign, you've got to learn to diversify. My big issue is, again, love ranged, love arrows. And so I love just strategizing sometimes in Kingdom Rush and being like, what if just archers? That's it.
Did you ever
Literally
play Warcraft 3?
Just dudes who shoot stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
And RTSs, I do that where I'm just like, it's
Gotcha.
not turtling, it's like the opposite. It's like just one unit, just 500 of them, let's all
Right,
go.
yep.
Just literally group,
Spam
click,
Marines, yep,
watch.
yep.
Like that's, which is not a good strategy, but acceptable, to just get by bare minimum.
So I have a question for you about PixelJunk that I wasn't really able to explore in the demo. So you had two different difficulties, and if you made it through the level without any of the people you were trying to protect die,
that's why I played so long. Yeah, because you
seems like I'm touching on something.
Yeah.
If you make it through the level without anybody dying, you get this rainbow piece.
Yep.
And the demo hinted at like, hey, if you get these rainbow pieces, you can unlock different areas. I didn't really get to explore that, but what I was curious about is, do you just need to clear the level to move on and play all the stages, or are there like secret stages that you get with the rainbow pieces? How does it work?
I'm pretty sure it was secret stages. Again, I played it in college now. It's been so long. And then even Monsters had PixelJunk Monsters Encore, which was like an add-on, which had insanely difficult levels. But my roommate and I were compelled to get the rainbow pieces.
Yeah.
I don't think progression was blocked by it. I think it was extra bonus stages, but don't quote me on it.
Okay.
I'm 90% sure.
That's all right. I understand it's been a while. I just was limited with what I could experience in the demo.
I remember we were compelled enough, though, to grind it out where if one person died, it was like, restart, let's go, we got it. So addicting.
I wish you could have been there to see the transformation that I had with PixelJunk Monsters, because, the first few minutes of playing, I was like, hey, this is all right. I could see why I thought it was Brandon liked this so much.
I think just because I talk about tower defense.
The wires got crossed
love
there.
That strategy. And that also carries over to Orcs Must Die. Fortnite, the version I play in Fortnite is very tower defensy. Lots of building and lots of traps and pushing things and
Dungeon
things,
Defender,
and lighting things on fire, and it's neat to apply status effect and see something just slowly dying as it's going or slowing it down.
Right.
Oh my god, the Tesla coils, I remember, was one of the towers. The towers get pretty wild as you go up, and like that. There's so much nuanced strategy of like. No, like you kind of nailed it where it's like, do I buy this really crazy tower or do I level up these like 4 cannons? And what do I do here?
What's great, and I imagine gets really fun once you get later on in the game, is you can also dismantle buildings and recoup some of that cash.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, and they tell you in the demo, they're like, hey, once those buildings aren't any useful anymore, like get rid of them and put them elsewhere. And so you've got this evolving battle that's going on where it's like, okay, this is the part of the mission where people are coming in from the northeast. Now we got to dismantle all that and bring it down here.
Was there a boss in the demo?
There was a boss. Okay. So it was this giant golden statue.
Took words out of my mouth, actually.
There was this giant golden statue that stomped, and he would summon little dudes. He wasn't that hard on either difficulty.
I remember it being fun of like just building in front of the boss, and just like as he's
kind
walking.
of retroactively, because it's the last thing in the level. So once he goes past a tower, I don't need that anymore. Delete, build, kind of like deleting behind him and then building up in front of him.
And you have these winding paths. You want to build towers where you can cover like multiple sections of the path at once, and so you want to like build in the bends. And also it tells you, hey, if you build on elevated ground, you'll have a wider range. And so that's another thing. It's just a really cool game.
I love momentum. I think it's my favorite thing about the genre. And like, some people might debate that this isn't tower defense, but like I consider Plants vs. Zombies tower defense, like albeit a very bizarre version of that. And there's some great mobile games that kind of take to that lane concept where you just constantly have things going at you and you're sending things in the opposite direction. I just love just building that up and the victory that you feel like at the end of a match when you're just like, look what I've created. Yeah. And then you're like, it's so addicting. You just got to start it over and just build up another thing again. It's tough for me to stop playing games like that.
Brandon, you bring up Plants vs. Zombies, and that was a game that I introduced my girlfriend to. And I've never seen her take to anything like she took to Plants vs. Zombies. She has done everything in both Plants vs. Zombies 1 and Plants vs. Zombies 2.
Wow. Garden Warfare or Plants vs. Zombies?
Plants vs. Zombies. She hasn't played. She's interested, but has not really played Garden Warfare. We played a little bit of Garden Warfare 2 together, but not much. But anyway, she's such an expert and so good at Plants vs. Zombies that it's anytime I think of playing it, it's like, she's already done it. It's like watching somebody climb a mountain right in front of you, and you're like, wow, that was really cool. I guess I don't need to climb that mountain now.
It's done.
Yeah, it's done. It's been done.
But again, aesthetic. It's fun to all the different personalities of the different zombies and stuff.
Yeah.
And,
It's great.
And the personalities and the things, even just when you level up a tower and they're just like, look, sir, like in Kingdom Rush, it's fun to like, just that aesthetic is fun to.
Have you seen the monsters
to
aesthetic?
I'm sold. I don't know why you're bringing up an image right now because I'm immediately following the conclusion of this podcast. You're gonna go download this demo.
Yeah, it's really fun. I'm a little bit worried.
Because
I liked it so much.
The
only thing that I want to preface is there's not much you can do in the demo, Brandon. So don't get too excited.
Colors.
It is just one stage. So
I'm downloading that in
3 hours, guaranteed.
Wait.
Yeah, it was very fun. I spent more time on it than I.
and the first one. I'm calling my roommate John like immediately.
Is it the kind of thing where like it looks like the second one is iterating so much on the first one that the first one's not worth going back to? Like,
I bet the first one's totally worth going back to.
Oh my god, I bet it holds up perfectly because it's just it's a simple game, and it's.
Cool.
Have you seen the second one though in action?
I saw
Okay.
when I retweeted a trailer when the trailer came
really
out
good.
a while ago, and I was like, I didn't even know this game existed, and then a trailer is out with the release date, and I'm just like, yes.
Do you like the look of the Tomorrow Children?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but super colorful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Tomorrow Children, I remember that one.
So the question for me, and I should have looked this up before this podcast, is I now want to play the first one as well.
Yeah, it was on
PSP.
It was on PS3, and then there was a PSP version, which is slightly.
See, I thought it started on PSP, but it started on PS3?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll download it on PS3.
PS3,
I'll do that.
and then they had the Encore DLC, which was like $5 at the time.
Did you ever play any of the other PixelJunk games?
Shooter,
Okay.
Shooter 1 and 2, loved those. Love PixelJunk. The building one really got me though. It was really hard. I forget what the name of it. PixelJunk like Factory or something. It was like really hardcore. I didn't play that one as much. Loved Shooter though.
I think we're all collectively excited for PixelJunk Monsters 2.
PixelJunk anything and SteamWorld anything. Like I'm in. I'm all in.
I think that'll be a good stream. We should make that a group stream.
For sure.
We're all dancing.
Ian is at his house right
So
now,
just screaming,
saying yes.
Yes. Cool. Cool. I didn't know Ian was into it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Moving on, Brandon.
Yeah.
You gave me the most Brandon and Jones lineup of games ever. They're stereotypical in a great way.
Yeah.
I don't know which one to pick first.
I am who I am. I'll pick one for you because
please.
I think it piggybacks onto your Destiny concerns.
Oh.
And it's something that I think has been. I just want to speak to a couple of things that I think have been largely successful for the longevity of Grand Theft Auto Online, which I took a break from. I did not play GTA Online for months and months and months, and jumped back in. Just I don't know why, maybe it's just Red Dead. I'm freaking out. I don't know what it was. I don't know why I felt, because the load times are really long. I think maybe we were talking about GTA 5 and I wanted to check out the campaign a little bit, and then I restarted the campaign on PS4 because when we played it back at GT, I think it was like the work account. It wasn't like on my actual account. And so, or maybe like I lost the save when I switched to PS4 Pro. So I was like, oh yeah, twist my arm, I'll play GTA 5 again. And then I got up to the point where I unlocked Trevor, and so I have all the 3 characters now. And I was like, oh, let me jump back into GTA Online. And it bit me. And I was checking a bunch of new modes that I haven't played since. And I think one big thing that might not work for Destiny, but I think is something that a lot of publishers need to consider if they have these big games, that might be a solution to Call of Duty or Battlefield if they want longevity, or they want to incentivize their users to get creative and to create new content for people to enjoy that they don't have to do, is a custom level creator. And you can build levels in GTA, and there's some new stuff that Rockstar built to kind of show you the tools and what you can do. But some of the craziest stuff that I've played recently is stuff that just people have built. And but just to talk on a kind of an umbrella of what the new stuff that they've added, some new modes that are really fun and interesting. One is called Target Assault, where you are driving in a indestructible car that has a big Gatling gun on the back, and the car varies from mode to mode. And so you have one person driving the car and another person in the back of the car shooting. And then after you do a full lap, they swap. And then, so if you do like 3 laps, then you're going to be either the driver or the gunner. And there are targets as you go by that are colored, like green is the lowest and red is the most valuable, and the green ones are a lot bigger than the red ones. And so you're getting credit. If you're in first place and you go through a checkpoint, you get points for that. If you take out the targets, you get points for that. So they just add it up. And so it sucks because I don't know if people DLC'd or if they were just trolls, but like I've started some races and some cars just don't drive. Like some person's just like, haha. And you're like, oh, come on, man. Like, I don't know if they just went to go, heat up their pizza in the microwave or like what happened.
Yeah.
But I can imagine that gunner's like, oh, come on. So he's just shooting guys from the start. starting line. But it's really interesting. It's like and you can't shoot the other cars because they're bulletproof. So like you can kind of see some players that are new to the mode. They're like, oh, I'm gonna blow these other cars. Oh wait, that's not working. And I thought that was really an interesting kind of fun. These two different skills that you need in Grand Theft Auto combined. And it's so gratifying when I would like be driving around, because like driving I think is my favorite thing to do in that mode. And I could tell like, oh, my gunner's good. This is great. We're gonna win this one. And they added new transform races. So they have, and again, this is something that you can also build, where they'll have rings that you go throughout the course, kind of like the Crew 2, which is coming out, where you'll swap to motorcycle, or you swap to a helicopter, or to a boat, or to a plane. And so you'll be like on a car that'll go off a ramp, and you'll be flying through the air, and then poof, you turn into a helicopter, and now we're helicopters for this part.
Like Diddy Kong Racing vibes.
Yeah. Just thinking.
Diddy
so
Kong
those
Racing
are really fun, and there are sections like rings where you have to like turn your plane to the side or even like upside down to like, or it'll slow you down once you go through that circle.
The first mode that you were talking about sounded fun, like playing with a friend, having to communicate like, hey, drive this way, shoot this way, calling each other out like that. Sounds like a good time. This sounds really cool. Like, this is like, oh, I actually want to play GTA Online for this mode specifically.
And these new modes are great because they're classified individually on your phone. So when you bring stuff up, it's not just like, I want to do a race. Like, no, I want to do a transform race. I want to do a special race. I want to do this type of stuff. And then every time they add that, again, all this stuff's for free. So everything that I'm saying, all these modes are free, but every time they add a mode, the cars that are associated with that will also go into the store, and so you can buy the car yourself. And so my favorite that they did was the Deluxo, which is basically the DeLorean from Back to the Future. And when you drive off, you can hit a button that like your tires flip in and you'll go flying. And then you can also go over water. It'll hover over water. And the Deluxo is like $3.5 million. So like I can't, there's no way I'm ever going to have enough money to like buy this thing on its own. But you can go into the mode and check it out. So it's like, incentivizes players to build up money if you want to get it yourself, so you can drive it, have it whenever you want. But for people that don't have the money, that can't afford that, you can just go into the mode.
I just read something where if you log in now, you get $250,000.
That is
in GTA Online.
I just happened to jump in
of money in the
and
game.
Be back into GTA Online, and Ian mentioned that. I missed that headline. I was like, thank you, Ian. And so that's another reason why I've been jumping in for about an hour each day this week.
Isn't it like, how much to do a heist? It's like about that much, right?
Yeah, it's to do one of the major things that I'm not doing are, so when they first added heists, it opened up a room in your apartment, so you had to have a certain apartment that had this room available, and then you had to put one person at least had to put some money toward getting the assets to make the heist happen, and then so there was a little bit of investment there,
divvy it up.
And then they doubled down on that now that if you buy facilities, so if you buy a bunker or a hangar or something, that opens up a whole nother set of missions. So obviously you have to be like deeply ingrained into the game and have a really tight crew that's got a lot of money, or at least have like one like sugar daddy that's like, all right, I'll put all of my millions into this, and then all my friends can join me and do it. So I have not done that. I think maybe before, I'm like tempted maybe in like July or August of this year just to do like a please on Twitter, be like, anybody, I'll join your crew. I'm just dying.
They'll carry
I just
you.
really want to check this content out.
When I do the Destiny 2 calls on Twitter, it's like, I got you. We'll carry you, Huber. Like, the allies are ready and willing.
I'm ready. I will communicate. I will have your back. And they also have like From Russia with Love Bond cars that are submersible. So you'll like go off a jump and then land in the water, and then little fin will pop out and you'll be like going underneath. But they have one level called the Kraken that they built with the tools, these like tubes and ramps that you can use to build your own custom levels. Built this like creepy looking Kraken thing, and they like made a ship that's like cracked in half, and one of the arms is like around the ship, but you like drive through that arm. You see like pop out of the water, and you're like in these tubes driving around, and they have like little boost pads, so you're just flipping around like, you're spinning down a toilet bowl like going through. I
think GTA has nailed it with
free.
With the amount of free developer support and the community making stuff and promoting it, and it's on PC. I mean, you go on YouTube and you type in GTA 5 mods and you just see Rick and Morty and Superman. Like, it is unlimited in the things you can do, and I think that is awesome.
These official updates, it's not just that they're free, but they sound creative and fun.
Yeah.
They're not just
at least just
out.
To try out.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like you were saying, like Destiny's like, no, try out this new thing we add, and you're like, I'm doing the same thing that I did before, and this is like, whoa, no, this is a whole new mode, and there's like again, the Doomsday heist and the Vespucci job and some of this other stuff like has a little bit of lore behind it. I feel bad because my cell phone keeps blowing up in the game, and they're like, "We want you to do these heists." I'm just like, "No, sorry, I don't have the money." But adding the custom creator stuff to it, I think it just takes it that little extra distance of one of the most fun modes that I play was entirely user created. It was called Rockets versus Insurgents, I think. And the Insurgent is one of these big armored vehicles, and it's on Hollywood Boulevard, and they had a ramp. I think I told you about this. They had a thing that was built up between two buildings, and then two ramps on either side of it. And so when I played it, it was 4 people were on each team, and one team loads automatically onto this little bridge in between these two buildings. If you fall off the bridge, you're dead. It's too far of a drop for you to survive. So you got to stay on this bridge. And there's rockets that constantly respawn around the whole thing. So you have just an unlimited amount of rockets. And then these armored vehicles have these 2 ramps on either side of this bridge to jump and try to hit the people on the bridge. So it's technically a deathmatch mode. And I was thinking like, oh, there's no way I'm going to hit these people on the bridge. But actually, if you're on the bridge, it was way harder to survive because you have to look like in front of you and behind you. And if you're like the only dude left and you got 4 cars constantly like, and it's just nothing like shooting a rocket at a car and you're like, okay, cool, I almost hit that guy. And then one of these things just clips your ear like a giant truck, like, whoa, that guy almost hit me. And I think it was when I played it, the title of it was like version 2.3 or something. So this is something a guy built, and has constantly been iterating on it. And it's nothing that Rockstar did. They just put the tools in there and somebody had a really clever idea. And then they can not only do that, but promote that. And so I think the marketing team of Rockstar is doing a really good job of like bringing fun people into play their games and showcase the fun stuff. And it's just neat. I was just surprised going back in. I'm like, well, I have goals, things that I want. I'd like to buy another apartment. I'd like to get some more vehicles and like beef up the vehicles that I have. But like, I don't know if I just have the time. And I just got so hooked on it again. I was really surprised.
So this leads me to the question that I want to ask the most. This is a personal question. So more so than myself, more so than Huber or any other ally, Brandon, you fall down gaming holes, gaming pits. There are just, every year, there's a couple of games that we lose you to.
Yeah.
Dragon Quest Builders is one of those.
Right.
We check in and it's like, hey, Brendan, are you enjoying the Switch version of Dragon Quest Builders? Oh, I also did everything in this version.
I did more on the Switch than I did on PS4.
Yeah, right. And, or Fortnite, Save the World.
Yeah.
Didn't you just say you did everything?
My research tier, I just finished. Yeah, I just completed that tier. There's another, there's 2 like main tiers of one that you get just from existing, you get an experience. Another one you have to get through missions. So that one I still have a ways to go. But
are we going to lose you to GTA Online? And will this be the deepest hole of all?
You're gonna lose me to Red Dead Online. I'm guessing.
Well, I know that. I'm just saying this. I'm not sure.
No,
this just seems like either a light flirtation or a dark descent.
The enjoyment that I'm having right now is because I stepped away for so long. So a lot of these modes that they add, the transform stuff, I was almost gonna message like the team of Rockstar and be like, really clever idea, and then I noticed it's like 4 months old. I'm like, oh right, I don't want to out myself. It's like I don't read your emails, you know? Because I know it's like I'm just not playing that right now. I'm not gonna jump in and play that for a day if I haven't played it for a while. But it's fun. I think it's a type of game that like maybe every 4-6 months. Jump back in, play it for 3 or 4 days, enjoy that.
Do you think this is in some way priming you for a descent into Red Dead? Like kind of, like I know you were already on the hook for Red Dead, but is this making you even more excited and hungry for that Red Dead Online
because of how much stuff they have that is crew focused?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's like your posse is gonna be set up in Red Dead, and they had that in Redemption last gen, but just judging with how much they've done on GTA Online, I imagine that's how that's going to be set up. So I'm like very excited to like have a designated crew, have something, because I go into a mode and I'm like, oh, this race is really fun. And what sucks is when you're loading up, like you'll see one guy invite like a ton of his friends or a bunch of people from his crew, and then everybody bails. And what sucks about races is like 10 people will jump into a race, and then half of them will just bail by the time before the race is done. And I don't know if there's like not harsh enough penalties for people that do that, but it sucks because I'll like get first place, and it's like first place out of 3. So you only got this much money. It's like, well, there were 12 people when we started. Yeah. Sorry for winning, everybody. And so it sucks that I don't have a crew that I can't, like a bunch of people that are just guaranteed to be online that like, oh, I can send invites out. Even like Save the World, I know a bunch of people playing Fortnite, but they're playing that other popular mode, not the dumb mode I'm playing. So it'd be neat to have that. I imagine, that rabbit hole will be very slippery if I have like, my cowboys and cowgirls that I can call upon.
Like Brandon Huber, you have an unwavering reverence for Rockstar. Anytime the words Grand Theft Auto or Bully or Red Dead are mentioned, you get wide-eyed and excited.
Max Payne 3.
There was an audible grunt there from Brendan Jones. Max Payne 3, sure. I've never really seen you in a GTA Online kick. Like little stints here and there, but not for an extended period of time.
Yeah, a couple reasons why. It came out a little too late. The barrier for entry was a little too steep at the time, and for the last few years, I've been all about consuming single-player games and getting through them and on to the next. So rarely did I put my time into multiplayer. This year, and I think a lot of that is because of Fortnite and even Destiny 2, I'm just in a multiplayer mode right now where, I find myself playing mediocre single-player games that maybe a couple years ago I would stick through and complete because I have an addiction to finishing games. That's my number one dopamine, is seeing those end credits. And that's going away because there's just so much stuff. And I used to look at a multiplayer game like, well, I'm pumping all these hours into something that never ends. What a waste of time. And I just don't look at it like that anymore. I look at it like I'm putting hours into this because I'm just straight up having fun. Even though there is no end, it doesn't matter because in the moment, you're having a great time. And now with Red Dead 2 on the horizon, like I am so ready and primed to just commit my life to it.
I actually, you made me think of something. About a month ago, 2 months ago, around March, I was playing a decent amount of Call of Duty World War II.
So fun.
And I played it a little bit when it came out, and I liked it, and I just, the job and reviews and other things kind of distracted me away from it, but I really liked it, and I was revisiting it, playing it online, and I liked it even more. And they were doing the St. Paddy's Day playlist, and I was having a lot of fun. But with the last several Call of Duties, with Black Ops 3, with Infinite Warfare, which I didn't really care for Infinite Warfare, so that's also a problem. But with Call of Duty World War II, as much as I was enjoying it, I was thinking to myself, they're going to announce some Black Ops 4 stuff in a few months.
Yeah.
And so it frustrated me. I wanted, not that I couldn't play Call of Duty World War II after the new one came out, but with yearly installments, I don't know why, but just mentally it's hard to get attached.
That's why
because people move on. A lot of people move on. I know some people don't, but it really feels like a lot of people move on.
Every time a Call of Duty comes out, though, especially these last few, I'm all about putting a couple months in early. Because that's when it's awesome. People are diving into the game. Everything's fresh. Everything's new. Community's active. You dive in for a couple months, bail out because it's a yearly installment. And it's like, all right, I'll just wait for the new one. I put a couple months in, got to the first DLC map pack, and kind of dip out then. But when Red Dead 2 comes out, that's something that's going to be built to last for years, and hopefully it does.
But do you think at all the number of options kind of devalues the time that you spend with a game? Like I feel like, and what I mean by that is Counter-Strike, right? Counter-Strike was so big, and it wasn't, not that there weren't other things it was competing with, but it kind of felt like it carved out its own space and could rest there for a while. Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare felt that way. Like it really just kind of took hold for a number of years. Even something as big as PUBG, as much as that blew up, it feel like we got a year out of it. Not that people aren't still playing it, not that it isn't popular, but it's not commanding the conversation.
Which will happen to Fortnite too,
right?
Eventually,
right.
Fortnite also.
Does the speed at which we're moving bother you at all, or are you just kind of along for the ride and you think it's a benefit that we're moving along so fast?
I think it's both, and for me personally, I'm just in a zone in my life where I'm comfortable enjoying the ride. I haven't finished Far Cry 5 yet because it's not as good as some of these multiplayer games that I'm playing with friends. Even if it's like Vermintide or I'm getting more value out of just having fun with friends rather than like grinding away on a mid-tier game.
But you're okay with moving on quickly. You're okay with a game lasting a week or a month and then dropping it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that didn't used to be the case. And I think it is just because there is so much. We haven't even brought up how many TV shows we all watch. Like, there's just so much where I've had to change the way I play games. I have to.
Do you think we're moving on too fast, Brandon?
No. I mean, that depends on who you ask. I mean, like for a player, no, not at all. It's fantastic. Just because I think even when things weren't moving this fast like 10 years ago, there's no way I could have checked out. I love shooters, and there's still no way I could have checked out everything all at once. And so I think I think one of the struggles, and you actually do a really darn good job, Huber, I think, of really tapping into that, is really committing to one experience and really feeling that game, as days, weeks, months, years go by. So you can really show up at this desk and say like, no, I've never gone away from this game. I don't think any of us get that opportunity. Right. So it's hard for us to really gauge like how much a commitment like that is worth it. So yeah, I've ever since I was graduated college, I've been in games journalism. So it's just like I never took a break. It's always like the next thing.
Totally.
So it's I'm always going at hyper speed.
But are you putting more time into things now that maybe you wouldn't have like 5 years ago? Like, are you playing less single player games because there's so many? Are you picking and choosing more carefully now, Jones? Or do you kind of just play what you want to play and that's that?
I don't think so. Yeah, because I find sometimes I'm either there's different attitudes. Like I can either be like, man, there's too much for me to play right now. Like God of War is really great, but it's getting in the way of these other games that I want to play. Or I'll find myself like, oh wow, I got a week where nothing is really commanding my attention. I'm not assigned to work on anything specific, and there's not that one thing that clearly is speaking to me over other things. And so I appreciate both. It's exciting, to have a bunch of stuff on your plate, but it's also exciting to get a little time to experiment with maybe some lesser games. Maybe like, okay, let's hook that Vive up, and I'll play a bunch of VR stuff that I missed out on.
I want to play more VR so badly, and I just don't. Because you were talking about priorities, right? And I think I'm very much in a single player kind of state of mind right now, where I want to go through and have 10 to 20 hour experiences and see those in credits. But I miss VR. I want to play Super Hard VR really badly. I want to play more Beat Saber. I want to do Moss. It's hard finding space for everything, and it's really frustrating. I know we say that a lot on this podcast, and we're lucky that we get to play as much as we do. But I
just had this awakening. There's been an awakening. I've had this awakening where it's like I was always like putting the multiplayer games at an arm's length because one, they don't end, and two, single player games do end. It's like, oh, okay, let me just finish this entire game and this will still be here.
Right.
But now it's like, well, the single player games will always be there.
Right.
The multiplayer is a living thing. Right. It is a moment. It is alive right now. There's a community. There is, it's a living thing. Whereas maybe I'll put Ni no Kuni 2 on hold because it's not going anywhere. Yeah. I can play that whenever.
Right.
So
that's my big question about Dreams. Is the best Dreams time going to be at launch, or is it going to be a year later? Is it going to get really popular and dip, or is it going to take a long time for people to get really comfortable with what the capabilities of that game, and then a year later, oh my God, have you seen the stuff that they're building now? I don't know. I'll probably be playing both times, so that's irrelevant.
Yeah. Hop in when no one, the Wild West, no one knows what's going on.
Every week it feels like there's something that hits me out of nowhere, and
a PixelJunk demo.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, but it's so hard because you try as best you can to kind of make a schedule and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to play. This is what I'm going to get through. Obviously we have to do that for work, but just personally, you kind of make a list, and then it's like, oh, what's Frostpunk? Oh, this looks awesome. Yeah. Oh, this is super complicated. Okay, but it seems really great and seems like something I'd be interested in. That's happening to me all the time. There are new things that I want to check out and play.
And I wasn't talking smack on single player games. They're still my all time favorite.
No, I know you're not.
Okay.
We got a new thing happening, Huber. So normally when we do Caught in a Frame Trap, there's a word that is said.
Yeah.
But the Council of the Caught in the Frame Trap has given me a new memo.
New guidelines.
Anytime you wear this shirt on a frame trap, this brown Bowser shirt, we will be caught in a frame trap automatically without any word needing to be said.
Okay.
So that applies now moving forward. Anytime you wear the brown Bowser shirt.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with it.
All right.
It has that kind of power.
It does. That is probably my favorite shirt that you own.
I know Brad doesn't wear because I bought him. It was a 2-part set, and I bought it. And Brad has the one with Ganon. He wore it like once.
That is so adorable.
Gotta bust that out more, Brad.
That you
Start
bought a two-part
t-shirt
set.
channel on
Yeah.
Slack. We all just take pictures, let people know day to day
Yeah,
what we're gonna be wearing.
that's a good idea. We all wear video game, like all of us wear video game shirts. That's the kind of people that we
I
are.
need more like Witcher shirts. I want like Geralt's face.
I think do you have the I got my hands on Witcher 3 at
I think
E3
somewhere.
that shirt?
Yeah.
That shirt is hilarious. So for Caught in the Frame Trap today, if you guys aren't familiar with what this is, we play a little game. I'm actually super excited about the game that we're doing. New game. We're doing a lot of new stuff with Caught in the
New
Frame
game
Trap.
plus.
So just to explain the game a little bit, we have a lot of sponsors to get through, a lot of new ones. They're almost all new. But what this is scores from the past Nintendo 64. So what I'm going to do is I went to Metacritic and I picked 5 N64 games. Wow. I'm going to give you the blurb from the top review.
Okay.
And the blurb from the bottom review. And sometimes there are multiple top and bottom. I just picked one, of course. I'm going to read both blurbs, and you have to give me an average out of 100. Whoever is closer will get the point. That means for every question, somebody will get a point, and the person who has the most wins. Does that all make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, before we get moving on with the game, though, the Caught in the Frame Trap, we've got a bunch of sponsors, which I'm very excited about. A lot of people supporting this show. If you would like to support the show, please go to patreon.com/easyallies, where you can find out more information. Our first sponsor, the longest sponsor for Frame Trap, been with us almost since the beginning, since we started doing this. Not quite, but a very long time. Greg, TheDarkKnight Kettering. Thank you, Greg. Next sponsor, brand new one, is Dale's son. Dale just wanted to support the Allies, but since he is a plug, he's a game developer with the month of May off, so he's going to be streaming a bunch. Stop by if you're bored. His Twitch channel is twitch.tv/StuffOnARock. All together, Stuff on a Rock. Next sponsor, Sean and Erika Cleeves. Thank you, Sean and Erika. After them, we've got Brian Smith. And after Brian Smith, we've got Jesse Jesterfer Vitelli. Jesterfer is what Jesse goes by on Twitch. So if you see him on Twitch,
Okay.
say hello. Yeah, Jesse Jesterfer on Twitch, Vitelli. You can find Jesse Vitelli on Twitter at Jesse Vitelli. Next sponsor is Michael Favocci. Favocci. He actually gave me a pronunciation, and I said Favocci. I apologize. It's Michael Favocci. Michael Favocci.
Yeah.
He's got a question for us. Hello, Ben and Allies. While I do not have anything for you guys to endorse, I would like Ben to ask the current panel for their opinions. You see, me and fellow patron Carlo, are going to be attending our first E3 this year. In the spirit of the Allies, we've placed our own personal bets about what's going to happen while there. I won't bore you with the details of the actual bet. The winner of the bets will get to decide what game the other person must play next. They must play from start to credits within a reasonable amount of time. Side missions and DLC are optional, but a small review must be written upon completion. It's an intense bet. We have chosen games that we know the other person has not played yet, but think we'll enjoy. The pools of games we choose from are, in our opinion, great games we both would have played eventually. So this is more of a shifting of the backlog for the losing person. I would like the panel to choose which one game from the following list the losers of the bets must play and review.
Right.
And any details how the game should be played would be appreciated. The games I must play and review would be one of the following. Okay, so we have to pick from this list.
Excellent.
Mega Man Legends, PS1.
Ooh.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Xbox. Final Fantasy IX, PS4. No cheats allowed. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Wii U or Switch. Persona 5.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, that's tough.
I'm going to have some mercy. I'm going to say Tropical Freeze.
just for length?
Yeah.
Well, also Tropical Freeze is incredible.
Yeah.
And
it just
part
came
of the
out again.
conversation with Switch, yeah. Brandon, you got one?
Oh, FF9 is
FF9
just popping out
is-
of that
yes.
list, it's
Yeah.
screaming at me right there.
Yeah. It's hard, I think.
I don't know what other Final Fantasies they've played though. If they've never
Right.
played any, well, that's going to be an interesting experience.
Right.
Going through your first
Yeah.
Final Fantasy being 9.
Final Fantasy IX has meant a lot to me since I first encountered it, but that was a very, very, very long time ago, and so I never know if it holds up for a person just playing it the first time.
Talk about Temptations, that remaster, man. I mean, not remaster, just they clean that game up.
Yeah.
You know, for new consoles and PC and everything. It's so tempting.
Just do it. Just do it. Yeah. FF9, I think my second choice, just out of like sheer curiosity of what you would think about it, Mega Man Legends, I think would be the next one. But all of them on the list are great. There's no wrong answer there. But yeah, Final Fantasy IX for me as well. The games Carlo must play and review if he loses would be one of the following: Super Mario Galaxy 2, Fragile Dreams, Farewell Ruins of the Moon, Lost Odyssey, Resident Evil 4, he's never played it, Ni no Kuni.
I was about to scream Galaxy too, but Resident Evil 4.
There you go. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner.
Yeah. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is very close to me.
And the other thing too, I'm thinking about old consoles. That's the thing about Mega Man Legends is like, is that on PS4 or something? Didn't Kyle just
Mega Man Legends you can download on PSN on PS3.
Okay.
Yeah.
But RE4 is super accessible right now.
Yeah.
And you have
Available
to do,
all over the place. Go get it.
Finish,
when is it coming to Switch? Come on.
Yeah. You have to finish Separate Ways as well, the Ada DLC.
Thank you.
You heard it here first.
Thank you so much for any input you guys can give us. Most of all, thank you guys for just doing what you do with such heart and passion.
Aw.
We've been with you guys since the GT days. Because of the positive vibes and great content you guys produce, you can always count on our continued support and patronage in one form or another.
You can always count on us on voting RE4. Just ahead of it. Like there are very few games I think on that list
that we're all unified behind.
FF9's great and all, but
I would put Remake over 4, but that's just me. Truly, all of you are the best in the biz. Hope to run into any of you at E3. In the meantime, what's that?
I have a history of doing that. I did this. Hall of Greats, man.
Yeah.
Made that uncomfortable vote.
In the meantime, just got into that Twitter game, and you can follow me at Michael Favocci. I'm going to spell that for you. At MichaelFavocci. Thank you, Mike. Very much appreciate it. Oh, there's a PS. Bloodborne and Bayonetta 2 are still tied for best game of this gen, in my humble opinion. Now, we also have a very, very, very brand new thing that we're doing. We've got some mega sponsors. Boom. Which, for an increased amount, you can sponsor both the Easy Allies podcast
At a
and
discount,
Frame Trap. Yes.
You combine the two naturally.
Right.
It's a $50 discount.
Yeah.
That mega sponsor.
And the first mega sponsor, somebody we all know very well, Hogue Law. You might have heard the name before, but now he is also sponsoring Frame Trap. Hogue Law is a business law firm, whether you're starting a business at level 1, stuck fighting the dreaded fundraising boss, or finally cashing out with a well-earned high score. You need a good business lawyer at your side.
I've never heard anyone else read this.
I know.
Either.
I feel self-conscious because I know Brandon has read it.
No, I love it.
And now, that good business lawyer has a YouTube channel. One with at least one video, which Ian Hink has called really well written, and Kyle Bossman has called easily shareable.
It's about the best you're going to get out of Kyle.
Of course.
That's an achievement.
Check it out at youtube.com/HOEG Law.
And congrats on getting your name there, Hogue, on the channel.
Yeah.
Just last week, when I read that, it was the classic, bunch of letters and numbers. But he got it. He got the name in there.
Gotcha.
Our next mega sponsor, keeping it as simple as it can possibly be, Blue. Thank you, Blue. Seriously, this is more support than we've ever had on Frame Trap, so I greatly appreciate it. It's awesome.
And Patreon in general.
And Patreon in general,
We're riding high
everybody's.
right now. Thank you for
yes. Well, that is an important point to bring up.
Riding high to the gates of E3.
That's right.
Oh, boys.
Let's go.
Valhalla indeed. Are we ready to play this game?
Set.
It's really fun because going back to game reviews that are that old is very entertaining for me.
It really is.
All right, so the first game we're going to do, F-Zero X. Now, remember, the way this is going to work is after I read the bottom blurb, you got to whisper HOTTAKE. First person to whisper HOTTAKE gets to answer first. Okay. Actually, since you're both answering, it doesn't matter as much. But you know what? We like the whispering of the HOTTAKE. Yeah. So the top blurb, that means the highest score. The frame rate and action more than makes up for the slightly less than average graphics. This is a title that no self-respecting N64 owner should pass up. Nintendo has created the first true N64 classic since Mario 64.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the top blurb. Bottom. Practically flawless from a technical standpoint. The biggest thing missing from F-Zero X is that it lacks a soul. Give me a number. Brandon?
8.7.
So we're gonna do
Metacritic average.
Metacritic. So 87.
87.
Yeah.
Right. HOTTAKE.
Yeah.
80.
Very close. You both did well there. The average is 85. Brandon takes a point.
Nice.
So for both of those blurbs, the top one, 96 from Gaming Age, and then 75 from GameSpot.
GameSpot.
Yeah.
64 version, though. It's that GameCube one that really
Yeah,
Oh,
GX.
yeah.
really knocked it out.
Oh, yeah.
All right, next one, Yoshi's Story.
Uh-oh.
Top. Mischief makers drop some hints about what the N64 can do in 2D, but Yoshi's Story pushes that boat out so far it's run ashore on the other side. But once you've got past the initial sense of, isn't that sweet? It doesn't take long before all that sugar rots your teeth and sets your stomach a-churning. That was the top blurb.
Oh, no.
Bottom. I can't recommend Yoshi's Story to anyone but the youngest of gamers.
HOTTAKE.
Huber.
68.
Okay.
HOTTAKE.
Brandon.
60.
That goes to Huber again. Very close. 65.
Ah. Okay. Oof.
Yoshi.
Pokemon
Not up to
Snap. It's going to be the next one.
Uh-oh.
Oh, for the blurbs there, the top one was from an 81 from TotalGames.net, and the bottom 50 from Games Domain. Okay, Pokemon Snap. Top. If you're a Pokemaniac, then this game is definitely for you. If you aren't that big on the whole Pokemon craze, then this is at least worth a rental. Very original and very fun to play. Bottom. Pokemon Snap is a poor effort on Nintendo's part. It is completely obvious that the game was rushed in order to cash in on the Pokemon frenzy. They could have spent 6 more months creating some new areas and adding all the available Pokemon into it, and then it would have been a much better game overall.
HOTTAKE.
Brandon.
73.
Okay.
HOTTAKE. 75.
Huber snakes it. 77. Huber's ahead by 1.
I had 75 locked and loaded anyway, Johns.
I had 74 locked and loaded and I dropped. I don't know why. Last minute. Still would have taken it.
All right. I messed up.
Oh.
I don't know how this happened. I have Mario Kart 64 written down, and I remember something got screwed up. Okay.
Somebody made a goddamn mistake.
The Mario Kart 64 section
Aliens.
and
Starship Troopers.
the Resident Evil 2 section
I can see what you did there. Those two are in the same part of your brain.
somehow got deleted. I had them written down. They're not written down now.
Somebody
I don't
made
know
a
what happened.
Big goddamn mistake, right?
So we're going to do it live. We're going to do the game live because it can be done.
Okay.
So the next two are supposed to be Mario Kart 64 and Resident Evil 2 on the N64.
Oh, baby.
So we're gonna make this happen. Apologies for the mistake.
I got Resident Evil 2 and 64 over here somewhere.
Yeah, it's right over there.
I knew you both would want Resident Evil 2, so that's what we did. Okay. All right. Here we go. Mario Kart 64. Top blurb. If you've experienced Super Mario Kart on the SNES, this game will feel like a grand homecoming. New players of all skill levels will instantly pick up on the fun. Okay? Bottom. This might be my favorite blurb of any of them. Okay. I'm off to Mario Kart on my SNES to reminisce about the good old days and dream of what this cartridge could have been.
Oh, jeez.
HOTTAKE.
Huber.
92.
Okay.
91.
Jones takes it. 83.
Wow.
83.
Tough.
Yeah.
That's The welcoming into the 3D world, stepping through that grand portal was not easy for some.
No, the top one there was
Hard
from,
to ask for more.
was
out of
from
that console for a
GamePro.
reason.
GamePro gave it 100.
Of course they did. Because GamePro is God.
GameSpot 64.
GameSpot,
the bottom.
GameSpot used to be the harshest of the harsh back in the day.
Wow.
Insanity.
Oh yeah, I was an
What was
IGN guy growing up.
What was the 7.5? It's like Twilight Princess or something?
Oh, that was an 8.9 that people. It was an 8.8, I think, that people
Okay.
freaked out about. Yeah.
They gave something like
I think they gave
7.
the Wii version an 8.8 and like the GameCube version an 8.9. If I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, that generated a lot of controversy. But Tropical Freeze, the Wii U version, they gave like a 6.
Yeah.
And that
That's
generated a
another
lot
one.
of
Yeah.
controversy. All right, so I'm pulling up Resident Evil 2 on N64 here.
Best
Both
version.
of you are on the line.
And that
for
was
this.
that was after the PS
Yeah.
one version, right? That was
Yep.
I
was like
believe
a
I
year
can give
later
you,
or
I can
something
give you
crazy,
a year
right?
here. I think it might have been more than a
More
year.
than that, even, yeah.
and a weird port.
Great port.
I do not see a year.
Low times.
Oh, here we go. Was 2 98? I think 2 was 98. Yeah. Okay, so this was 99. So Brandon was right. It was a year later.
Nice.
Okay, so Resident Evil 2 on the N64. Get out of here, survey. Top blurb. Resident Evil 2 is not just a great game, but also proof that the N64 can supposedly do the impossible when developers put their mind to it. An incredible
money.
achievement. Okay, bottom blurb. Some of these sound so similar, it's tricky. Okay. N64 owners have reason to be scared.
Yeah.
At long last, Resident Evil 2 sinks its teeth onto the system. With a high graphic violence quotient and chilling zombie horror reminiscent of Night of the Living Dead, Resident Evil 2 is not for the faint of heart. Rather, it is for the survival horror enthusiast with a taste for action and blood. I need to give that to Brandon because you're not supposed to interrupt.
It's okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm scared to go. Can I let him go first?
You
go for
can.
it.
You can choose to let him go first.
I think the person who goes first.
Okay.
I'm just gonna undercut you, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because I know you're gonna go way too high.
100.
Yeah, no. That's a
Okay, Brandon?
99 for the win.
Yeah, Brandon for the
Monster.
win. It was an 89.
I was actually gonna say 90, so that'll would have gotten closer.
Yeah.
I get emotional.
It's all right.
Did you just want to will the 100 Metacritic into existence for Resident Evil 2?
Yeah, if he did GoldenEye, I wouldn't be able to control myself. 100.
Yeah,
No
you
game
gave that one to Brandon there.
It's okay.
Did you like the blurbs?
Loved
I did,
them.
yeah,
Okay.
those are
Really
great.
good blurbs.
It's good. It's good to because we can play retro games, we can like watch old videos and stuff like that, but it's like really go back in time and just see people. It's fun to like see headlines, be like, look at the graphics from
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the 80s.
Average
you know?
graphics. Yeah.
That is
good.
so fun.
Brandon,
Yeah.
have you broken us by yourself out of a frame trap before?
Not by myself. No.
I don't think so. Well, you get to do that today. Now, I need to preface this. Last time, Michael Damiani and Kyle Bossman did the Goku Gohan Cell Games Kamehameha,
Okay.
which really set a new standard. So the pressure's on.
I'm gonna go with my twin shooter bank robbery breakout.
I like it. Very Brandon.
Hands in the air! Pew, 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 pew! He's got a gun!
I like the assist there. I like the assist. We're out. We did it. Well done. We have so many more things to talk about. Some big, some small. I want to get another Brandon Jones game back in here for the next one that we're gonna do. We're gonna do SSX 3.
Yeah! Woo! I'm like, let me just crack this baby open on the Xbox. You know, it's backwards compatible now. It's widescreen. It's gorgeous. But like, let me just pop this in and reminisce. I actually played. I did a stream that I'm not proud of back at Game Trailers, where I did an all peak race after that came out. Popped in the cheat to unlock all of the peaks. Did a stream. I think it takes like a little over half an hour to go through all of the peaks. And I should have just done the free ride, but I did the race where you have a clock, and I failed. So I did not finish it. People watched me play SSX3 for a half an hour on twitch.tv/game trailers, and I failed. At the end, it was just like, well, thanks for watching. So it's nice to have a bit of redemption and go back.
I'm surprised. Brandon Jones, you kind of
did too many
strike me
tricks.
as
Too much
somebody
air.
that when you fail at it, you would just do it again. surprised you just dropped it.
I thought people weren't going to, we were just, it was the beginning of
We were
our streaming
fledgling
days.
streamers, yeah.
So maybe I didn't think people would want to watch that all over again. Whereas I know now, like always, that they want the stream to continue.
Right.
There's always going to be somebody down.
Right.
But
I just randomly check in on Twitch and Damiani's like doing this retro stream and then I blink and he's like waiting for the Final Fantasy 14 update. Like Damiani is like the secret agent of our Twitch channel.
Yeah.
Never know when that dude's going to strike.
Yeah.
So
Plugged in.
I dearly love SSX. I'm always down for more of it. I understand that that's not, it was kind of like an era of EA. Obviously EA Sports Big is not a thing anymore. And just general extreme sports, I think, from EA is something that they're not really dabbling in anymore. So, like, I'm not expecting to get more of this franchise, but I strongly believe that 3 was the best that the series has ever gotten, even though it's obviously looked better last gen. I played the game SSX on the PlayStation 3 and did enjoy it. But going back to 3, and specifically this vibe of having this mountain, because like with the latest SSX, you're like in the Himalayas, you're traveling all over the world, all these different spots. And in this, it's not only a mountain, it's this mountain where most of these characters spend a lot of their time. And so you have this DJ that's like teasing events that you don't actually get to see, talking about things kind of like, oh, you should have been here last night. Oh, this other fun thing happened that you missed. And really, like, to me, SSX 3 really feels alive. It really feels like an actual place. And that's why I love open world games so much, is because I really get the vibe. Even something like Far Cry, that like, I live here. This is actually like a place where people call home. And it definitely, I feel a sense of permanence that like I'm making changes to this world. And so it's fun to like unlock these peaks as you go through the game. Yeah, I almost kind of feel I want to like take questions at SSX3 because like there's so many things I could talk about that are great about it, and so many things that I don't know if I'll have time before E3, but I'm like very tempted to do a video. I've been capturing a little bit of footage to like talk about what I think they could do with another SSX, just given the how much they did right just with 3.
So the debate that I always see is between Tricky and 3.
Yeah.
And Kyle falls on the Tricky side, and you
too.
fall on the 3 side. So, defeat Kyle in this moment and tell me why 3 is definitively the best. I know you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but give me more fire.
There's the connectivity. So with Tricky, I think Tricky's a lot more boisterous. It's a lot crazier. I think just generally has more attitude than 3 does. 3's a little more reserved and a little more I would say realistic, but again, it just tries to be a little more grounded in presenting its environment. But what's interesting to me is, so when you approach areas, you can either, when you like transport, and it's great because you can do that at any time, you just hit pause and you can say, okay, I want to go to another race. Even like right in the middle of something, you're just like, all right, I want to quit this and go somewhere else. And they'll drop you in, not right where that event takes place, but a little bit before it. So when you're going up, you can see the sign that says, if you just want to free ride this, if you don't actually want to do like the race and just go down this course and goof off, go to the right. But if you actually want to do the big slope, or if you want to do this race, go to the left. And when you do the big, the peak races, when you finish everything and you're like, I want to do this entire peak, either just doing tricks or doing races, both of those will split off into different directions. You get these fun little areas in between the races.
Yeah.
So you'll like go off and you'll see like there'll be little park benches or little city environments and stuff like that. And again, it to me just creates the vibe. When you're in the city, you'll actually see like cars driving by, and I often imagine like what fan will go and like get in like a skybox to literally be at one point, or even like racing fans. I think it's fascinating because like you're just going to be at one corner, so for like most of the time nothing is happening. And you're just like, oh, here they come. That was cool. We waited 3 hours standing here just for that, and so it's weird to like do a trick past a crowd and just be like, hello, like this is the only part of this race that you're seeing.
Is that what you would want out of a new SSX? Is that sense of place?
To double down on one location, and to talk about Far Cry also too. When I was talking about level editors before, Far Cry has a very fun level editor. I think that's something that SSX could really benefit from. I think would be really fun.
Wasn't the new one like full open world, the reboot or whatever, just SSX?
No,
it was like the open mountain.
No.
It
was a lot of different locations. You were definitely moving around. I think the game you might be thinking of is Steep.
No.
And Steep kind of was a little bit more of what I was looking for. Steep has like parachute events that are really, really boring. I was like maybe doing something wrong. I like did not like you were like racing against people and like I would start the parachute events in Steep and the guy would just take off. And I'm like, what button is that guy pushing? I don't know what I'm doing.
Would you want a serious tone for the new SSX?
Not a serious tone, just again a sense that there is a presence here, that like
right.
the people that I'm playing against maybe live here, that like they have rivals in all the SSX games. So like if you pick on one person, you can piss them off and like they'll be a little more aggressive to you in the race. It'd be cool if they did the opposite of that, where like you had friends, like you had people that actually look out for you, or if it's between you and them to finish a race, maybe they'll back off and let you win it.
Because that was the thing that always struck me about Steep is it seemed cool, but it didn't really have much of an identity to it. To me, it didn't really reach out and grab me as a good fun time, or really had a voice. I think that SSX has that I think people really attach to.
Steep was also like trees and rocks and snow, and that was it. There's not a lot of locations. There were actually, it was really funny. There were like, and I was just thinking like, well, maybe that's the area because I'm in these really, really high mountain areas, and so maybe there are just empty cabins and stuff like that. And then I actually went to a place in Switzerland that I had been before. I actually saw a point. I was like, oh, like that area's here, and like went there and was like, wait, I've been here. Like there's
That's
a train
tripping.
station and a gondola and a hotel and all this stuff. And it was just like 2 wooden huts. And I'm like, come on, So like just make up the place, but like don't put it in a real place and have it look like absolutely nothing like that looks. And obviously there should be nothing realistic about SSX at all. It should be totally crazy. But it's just fun getting that vibe that we are all actively competing against each other. And I think there's something you could do in a sequel that maybe kind of scales that in a way that like maybe I'm going down races sometimes and nobody's watching me. Like I don't need a huge crowd here all the time. Like maybe if I'm doing a practice run, that would kind of separate it from like, no, this other spot on the map right now, this is a big event. And the SSX that came out on PS3, you were always racing against ghosts, and that was a bummer that like there was no online multiplayer. That seemed kind of like a big missed opportunity that like I could track. I still kept in because Mike Buddy was playing a lot, my friend, old Game Trailers alum, and so I would be racing against his ghost. So it was kind of like, I think it was like a Burnout maybe, that there was some game, I think it was in the Burnout franchise.
What you're describing to me kind of sounds similar to Burnout Paradise.
That added, that like you would log in and they'd be like, your friend just beat your score. Go to that event right now. And you're like, I'm going to go beat their score. So there's a little bit of that where you could like, I could see their ghost and be like, where does he go? Oh, he goes on that crazy path over there. Okay. But at the same time, it's really fun to like bump and grind and shove and punch like while you're like actively like physically in the map with those people.
Sure.
And things you could do in changes in seasons, changes in weather patterns, it'd be neat that like, there were some areas in SSX3 where like, oh, there's a blizzard up on top of the mountain. It's like every one of these map races should have a blizzard mode. You can go in and like there's heavy winds now that affect everything, or like there's snow and it decreases visibility. Or maybe I'm playing this, going on this race during the summer and there's like grass patches I have to jump over, or some other challenges. And it'd be neat in a living games kind of way in this era that we're in to like think of ways to drop in fun little new modes and stuff like that you can do in SSX. And just because I know it can immediately seem like a massive challenge to make, like you were saying, what sucks about Destiny is that I'm like constantly revisiting the same areas. But at the same time, that's when SSX gets really good for me, and that's why I was surprised how much of 3 that I played, that the more I would do each course with different characters, the more I would remember it, and the more I'd be like, oh, that rail is the money rail right over there, okay, and then I would try to shoot for that and get better, and so like I would want to do the same course for like the 15th time because I know it now, and I'm really good at it, and so
do you have
go back.
Faith that EA could put out an SXX game that would kind of match what you want out of it?
No.
Why?
Because a lot of what we were talking about is being experimental with something in small doses.
Yeah.
And being playful with it. And I think looking at what they did with Battlefront, there's all sorts of stuff you can complain about. But one thing that frustrates me that they're just finally now getting into is being playful with Star Wars. Like, I know you want to create this authentic experience. I know it was this grand honor to go to, Lucasfilm and to get to like touch a lot of these props and really like recreate a lot of this stuff, sound design, costumes, sets, props and stuff, like 1-to-1 from what was created in the film. But like Pink Vader, let's do it. Why? And especially with Battlefront 3, I think that's like a way they could turn everything around is by saying, okay, we've already recreated so many of these things. We have so many heroes that you're used to and so many of these maps. It's like, oh, we're going back again. What if we get crazy with this? What if we really take story moments and make, I know we're talking about Battlefront now, but like, what if we take story moments and make them very different from what happened in the movie?
Yeah.
And this last like Ewok mode where you're like being like hunted by Ewoks, you know, as a stormtrooper at night, like, you know, freaking out, like hearing them jumping around. Like, I love that. And so I would love to see a little bit more of that. And, you know, for that reason, I think, you know, having them to do something very playful and something that is not, you know, there's so much I have to buy to get through all of this, but something
that was the other natural question is, do you think attempts at monetization
of course,
would
yeah,
ruin it?
It would be horrifying.
Okay.
Because there's none of that. You know, SSX3 when it came out, of course, was just $60, and then you were it was all there for you. And cheats later that you can unlock. It's interesting. There's always a set cast in every SSX, and there are like the other additional characters. They don't have voiceover, but there's like Eddie and Brody and some of the other characters from Tricky that weren't like the focus of 3.
So since you have no faith that a new game could get what you want,
well, not only get what I want, but just happen. I think
Right.
I think we're done with SSX, unfortunately.
sure. Would you want a new game that you weren't sure about, or a really nice collection of all 3 games?
I could stomach a new game I'm unsure about.
You would want that instead?
Because just to take another shot at it. If sales were bad, then we really know, okay, we'll put that final nail in the coffin and we can call it a day.
Yeah.
But
one last shot.
But I'd be curious, especially on this gen, how good an SSX could look. Because 3, and they always change the controls. It took me a while to like adapt to the controls that were in the latest SSX, but it's just always been, and it sucks because a lot of people say when I talk about SSX, they're like, oh, so you must be really into Tony Hawk, and I'm not, because for Tony Hawk, it was a lot of like, it seemed like a big figure 8 every map. It seemed just kind of like you're constantly going in circles. It seemed like the score was the most important thing. And for me, like, yeah, I want to get the gold if I can on this race, but it's just that air, just like that feeling of just the wind when you just go flying up and you're like, oh crap, and you could tell like I'm flying towards trees and I hope there's not a tree trunk right there, the crunch. And
your experience of enjoying SSX is so different from my own, and so different than what I wanted of Tony Hawk. Like when I was playing Tricky not too long ago, it was just how many tricks can I do while I'm in the air? Like how crazy can I make this big multiplier go up and get a huge score? And it was the same thing with Tony Hawk. It was like on this half bite when I go up, how many tricks can I do before I hit the bottom? And that's like not how you play at all.
Just thrill seeking.
You just like the sensation of snowboarding and the way that SSX presents.
There are some courses like, can I rail this all the way down? And I think that would also be another way that you could liven up courses is by adding new rail routes that you can take and challenges like that. Another thing, oh god, not to go back to GTA. Another thing they added in the open world, because you can do all these races and specific missions and stuff, but you can also just run around the world, goof off in this 40-player open world map, and they'll have challenges that'll pop up. That's like top speed challenge is going to go in 3 minutes, get a car, and you're like, all right, and it's like you can see like in real time who's the first and second, third place, and it's just like who can get the top speed, and then another 3 minutes will go by while the challenge is going, and at the end they'll give money and experience to the person who did it.
That's cool.
So something like that, something just like live challenges that are happening and various ways you can just shake up the same environment and make it look and feel different. I would love. Not going to get. So I don't want to think about it for too much. Maybe I should make this video because I'll just cry the whole time I'm editing it.
Maybe your video will make a change.
Yeah,
did you think about that?
Back?
I have more doubts about that than anything you've asked so far, Ben.
That's fair. Hubert, hype level on SSX. I don't know where you stand with SSX.
I played a lot of Tricky with my brother, so I'm really fond of Tricky. That's pretty much the only one I played. Loved it though. Played the heck out of it.
I think that's the success. Is you hook the fans, and then you make it easy for them to bring their friends in. Yeah. So they can have just at least that one person. Like, you're playing at the new SSX with me, Hubert.
I would totally, if they announced a new one, I would want it to have a little more character though. Like, I wouldn't want a realistic one. I would want a little more wacky. Yeah. Like Tricky.
Yeah. I like the wacky as well. I think Tony Hawk always nailed the level of
good
wackiness.
Balance. Yes.
SSX is in a really uncomfortable position where I don't think the latest SSX was so reviled that like people don't want SSX anymore. Like it's not like what was it, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 6 or 5?
5.
Oh, the last
Five.
one.
The last
Five.
one that was just like
Five.
so horrendous. Where
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, okay, clearly.
Yeah.
Well, and then you had Ride and stuff like that before. Like, I don't think SSX is quite in that position. It's just kind of in this skate position where it feels like there's so much potential,
Yeah.
and it's just not happening.
It's been so
and
long.
it
We've
really
had so many
sucks.
advancements in the industry. There's
Right.
so many things you could bring to it.
Skate
Right.
continues to be one of the games most wanted by allies whenever I bring up
Yeah.
E3 Dreams.
Oh,
Skate
yeah.
is always there.
I see lots of memes about it and jokes. Whenever it's like some other announcement comes out, people are like, "Skate too."
Yeah.
Brandon, I think you should make that video. I'd
Yeah.
want to see that
Cool.
video.
All right.
I feel like, because you were saying, we talk a lot about video games here. Like, whenever you review a game, or whenever you review a game, or whenever I review a game, it's like, okay, in a relatively quick amount of time, let's play this game so we can speak to it on an intelligent level. Your knowledge of SSX to me goes way beyond that. We're like, no one could even ever approach, even after a lot of time, talk about SSX the way that you talk about SSX. I think that makes for the best video.
Cool.
So I think I personally would just be very interested in it. But there's something that you really like, Brandon, that I'm excited to talk to you about. Because, like, I know these types of games aren't your jam all that much. And, Huber, I know you don't play a lot of them. But I think you're both very interested in sailing the high seas and being a pirate. And that's something you can do in Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire.
Nice.
Excellent.
Perhaps to the surprise of absolutely no one, Pillars of Eternity 2 is a pretty good game.
Yeah.
It turns out the things that Obsidian does well, they've only gotten better at in a lot of ways. And I want to get that out of the way first. In terms of world building, you were talking about how at Destiny, sometimes it felt like you were reaching, trying to pull it together.
Yeah.
With Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire, it's a 5-course meal that is given to you in terms of world building. And what I mean by that is you go to this archipelago, you go to these islands, and every place you go immediately strikes you with this sense of purpose and place and history. Everything is interesting. Like all of the whether it's this small like village that you're visiting or a big town, there's a history there that that's presented to you in a really natural way. This game is so sharply written and it's extremely well voiced. I'm really amazed at the level of performances. Whether you're dealing with like a queen or you're dealing with a cutthroat, like they all sound very believable and they have to talk a lot. And so it always adds a ton into what you're doing. But like there's so much that you can dig into in these types of games, in computer role-playing games. You have a lot of options where it's like, okay, I want to know more about this, or you can just get to the point. But even when you just get to the point, and I think that's what makes for good role-playing game writing, even if you're just clicking through things and you're not going through every dialogue option, it's like, okay, based on this interaction, this person is sending me on a job, but based on just that really tiny interaction, I have a good idea who they are, I have a good idea what their personality is, I have a good idea why they're sending me on this thing in the first place. And that's great. There's purpose to everything that you're doing. There are a couple of things where that's not the case. So there are bounties that you can get involved in.
Love bounties.
Even bounties have light contextualization behind them, but a lot of times it's just like, no, go kill them. And that's some of the bounties that you do are like that, where it's just go to this place, kill this person, report back. But the really fun ones are when it's like, no, take down their ship.
Nice.
And that's one of the biggest, probably the biggest change, the new addition, is that your ship is extremely important. You are responsible for a crew. You need a surgeon to heal people. You need medical supplies. So that if a crew member gets injured, you can take care of them. You need to constantly be concerned about water and food. All of this plays into your morale. The more morale you have, you'll get bonus experience. And you can upgrade different parts of your ship. You can outfit it with new cannons. You can buy whole new ships. You just start with this little
cool.
tiny guy, and you can upgrade it into a big, huge thing. But what I like about it is it's not like something you kind of pay attention to every once in a while, and then it's like, okay, I have this fun thing that I can dump time and resources to if I want to. But it's like, no, I have to get from island to island all the time. Like this one quest might send me all the way across the map. That's going to be a long journey. Like do I have enough water and food? It's a constant concern. And it's so much fun just boarding a ship and being like, hey, if you do this, it's going to come at a cost. You're going to take damage to the ship. You might lose some people, and that always really sucks because as you're going along, you're leveling people up. You're getting them ranks. You're making them better at their jobs. But it's really, really fun. You can also, in addition to boarding people and taking over their ship, which is my favorite thing to do, you can also do ship-to-ship combat. And because this is this Infinity Engine-inspired role-playing game, it's not like something like Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. It's not like you're actually controlling it. It's presented like through text, and it's like, okay, I want to rotate the ship and fire. But the way that they present it is still really exciting. You feel like the systems are well developed enough. It's like kind of like you're doing a pen and paper ship battle, which is really fun. And it's like you have to know like how effective your cannons are at a certain range, and you have to decide like, okay, what type of ammunition am I going to use? Like, I can attack the hull directly, I can try to attack the crew, I can try to attack the sails, and you have to make all of those decisions. So it's kind of like you're taking down some sort of big boss, and it's really, really, really fun. And there's an overwhelming amount of things to do, and I think sometimes RPGs don't know how to present that. I think it's always really frustrating where you have a bunch to do and there's no good way to sort it, or you feel kind of that anxiety between doing the main quest and the side quests. And that's not true in Pillars of Eternity 2 because they do something that I really like. They have a good flow built into the game where you're chasing after this god. Okay, you're trying to figure out what this god is up to. He's got some sort of plan and you're trying to figure it out. Okay, and you'll do a main quest, you'll get another little piece of that puzzle, and then the game will tell you, hey, you could try to take on the next quest, but it's like 4 levels above you right now. Why don't you come back later? And that's perfect because a lot of times as you're kind of chasing along this main quest, you'll fill out that quest log, you'll fill out a bunch of different factions that you can get involved in, all of their storylines, and you'll reach a point where it's like, okay, I will wait to try to take on this main quest until it's easier. Now I'm going to do side stuff. And so you get this nice flow of main stuff, side stuff, main stuff, side stuff. And when you get the opportunity to do the side stuff, it's not just like, okay, I'm going to do this one group because that's all I have. It's like, no, I've got 3 different factions to choose from. I can just do bounties if I just want to go out and sail because that's really fun for me. And so you have a lot of options, but it's easily digestible and there's a good flow to it as well. And all of the party members, man, all the party members are really great.
Good.
You've got You've got some party members returning from Pillars of Eternity 1. You've got some brand new ones. And sometimes party members, and I think this is something that Divinity Original Sin 2 could have been a little bit better at. Sometimes when you have party members and they have like their own quest that you need to do, sometimes it's presented very awkwardly where it's like, hey man, now that we're at this point in the game, I'm going to dump my story on you.
Yeah.
Pillars does it, there's a little bit of that. I don't want to say it's completely absent, but Pillars 2 does it it feels a little bit more natural, at least to me, where it's like, oh, it turns out they weren't being completely honest, or, oh, hey, this person that we ran into, that actually triggered something in my party member that now I want to go investigate. And so it's not just like, hey, here's this huge quest you can do. It's, what am I going to find out in the world that is relevant to the people that I'm traveling with, and what do they have to say at that given moment? So that's really cool.
That's good.
How do your party members factor into ship combat? Does that change anything? Are you kind of aware of like who's on your ship at any given time, or do you even have a quote unquote party when you're sailing? Yeah,
you do. You've got a crew, and so you can hire adventurers that you're going out and adventuring with, but you can also hire crew, and so there's kind of like a line of separation.
Cool.
Where the people that are on your ship are taking care of your ship stuff, and you're with your classes, your other adventurers. Going out and doing other things. So, and that's because like your party, everybody has a specific class. Mm-hmm. And another new thing is you can multi-class. That's new to Pillars of Eternity 2.
Hybrid up.
Yeah, and that's interesting. They say multi-classing is not recommended for people that are new to it, which is interesting because if you multi-class, you can pick obviously from a broader range, but the strength of abilities that you're getting, you're not getting stronger abilities as quickly as somebody who would just be focused on one class. So they'll kind of go up the tree, as it were, a little bit more quickly. So, yeah.
What do you, just straight up, what do you like more, Divinity or Pillars of Eternity? 'Cause these are two franchises that I desperately want to get into, and I played a little of Divinity 1, but it didn't hook me straight away. You know, I put like 5 or 6 hours in. I was like, and I can remember looking at pictures of both of them because they both were Kickstarter, if I'm
right.
And I can remember looking at Pillars and visually being more into it, but I just never picked it up. And now 2 is out, and it's just such a barrier with these like PC RPGs that are
totally
50 hours long.
They're very long.
But which do you prefer more?
Yeah, so this is hard, and I want to get this out of the way because I really do feel it. I'm very passionate about this feeling. Like, if you have any slight interest in Pillars of Eternity 2, or if you enjoyed Pillars of Eternity 1, like, you should totally play Pillars of Eternity 2. It's a great game. I'm about 20 hours in. My party's level 12. The maximum level is 20. So, not done.
Yeah, getting there.
Not close to done yet, but I feel like I've played enough that I feel very confident in the quality of it so far. That being said, in my opinion, Divinity Original Sin 2 is better.
Okay.
And if you came up to me and you said, which one, if I could only play one, which one should I play? I would say Divinity Original Sin 2.
Is one more casual or accessible than the other, or are
no,
they about the
not.
same level of commitment?
So here's where I'm coming from with Divinity Original Sin 2, and I think other people will value other things more, but with like Pillars of Eternity 1 and Pillars of Eternity 2, they're sort of taking the Baldur's Gates, the Icewind Dales, they're taking these classic RPGs that people love, and they're updating them, and they're making that type of game make sense in modern day, and it's really good. They're doing a fantastic job. With Divinity Original Sin 2, I feel like they're kind of taking that base and moving even further beyond.
Cool.
And what I mean by that is, like combat, for example, I think combat is good. So if you've played like Knights of the Republic before, or you've played Baldur's Gate, you're kind of familiar with this style where you can pause at any moment and issue individual commands. I'm playing on Classic, which a lot of Pillars players are saying is too easy, and so I should probably bump it up. But my experience on Classic so far is like, if you follow the basic RPG tenets, like
healer, tank.
You have your ranged guys in the back, you protect your spellcaster, you have your tank, you make sure your healing spells are sufficient, you try to keep people at range, you follow them through choke points, like all interesting and important decisions, but decisions that you've probably made before in RPGs. With Divinity Original Sin 2, I found myself really pushed to the edge in so many battles. Very, very, very rarely did I feel like I could turn on autopilot, because there were just so many things that I had to take into account. Like, a lot of the enemies that I were fighting in Original Sin 2 felt just as capable as my party, if not more capable. And so there was this really fascinating puzzle element where you could like grow wings and fly up to the edge, or you had like all these different like this huge room, and like maybe in this room you had to deal with a pool of electricity, or in this section you had to deal with like a thing of fire, and like battlefields were so dynamic and interesting that and even just like how you navigated the world, there would be a lot of times where they would kind of give you this impassable terrain, and they're like, use your spells, use your ability, use your equipment to get past this. And I felt like a lot of time equipment wasn't being rained down on me. And so when I got something new, it was really, really valuable. And because you could be so creative with spells, it was really hard to think, like, what do I want to bring with me? I have to, like, damage is just as important as traversal because there are so many hazards that I have to deal with. And I just... Which game has better party members? Man, both games have excellent party members.
Because Divinity 1, I remember it was like do you create a character in Pillars?
Yeah, you create a character.
Okay.
Or you can bring,
Because that's always the thing with me, is the like hollow shelled characters that are either like created or just randomized.
Let me get this out of the way. I think in both games you are like not a blank slate, but it's your party that's interesting. You don't have as much of a voice or personality as your party does, I would argue.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because Pillars, Pillars, just the visuals, and I love the pirate theme of it all, rather than like a cosmic,
Yeah, the pirate theme is great. I think the party members in Divinity Original Sin 2 are great. They are very funny.
Yeah.
I would probably give the party members in Pillars maybe a slight edge.
Like a little
There's just something about Obsidian writing and presentation and relatability to characters that I think Pillars does more. Yeah. And I think part of the problem, and I want to bring this up, and it's important to bring up, is in Divinity Original Sin 2, you can play co-op with people.
Yeah.
And so I think because of that, like, your party members, they do chirp up and say things in Divinity Original Sin 2, but not as often as they do in Pillars of Eternity 2, because it's single player
I
focus.
like that more. The Pillars way.
But have you done a really cool battle with your friend in Divinity Original Sin 2?
I have
it's
not.
awesome.
I bet it's really
awesome. And yeah, I think because of that, because there are like, and in Divinity Original Sin 2, you could just make your own campaign. Like it depends on what's important to you, and it sounds like you just care about party members and story.
Yeah.
You're gonna get that in both games.
Cool.
Maybe because of your style, you might like Pillars more, but
I just think it's so cool that both of these games exist. They both scratch such a specific itch. They were both kickstarted.
Right.
They both now have sequels. Like they're definitely on the same path. And I think it's really awesome that they can both live in this gaming world.
Yeah, if you go back and you look at like the messaging behind Wasteland 2, for example, the idea was that, hey, this is the only way we can make this type of game. Like, this type of computer role-playing game is really hard to get funded on any sort of big level. And with Pillars and with Divinity, not only do they get funded and exceed wildest expectations, but the quality is phenomenal. Like, Divinity Original Sin 2 is one of the best games that came out of last year.
Yeah.
It's so incredible. I think you should absolutely make time to check it out, at least a little bit. That's how good Divinity is. And that, honestly, like, Pillars is bumping up against that too. Like, Pillars is really, really good, and they're reviewing phenomenally. I think right now, like, Pillars of Eternity 2 has a 90 on Metacritic.
Dang.
Like, these crowdfunded games are knocking it out of the park, and good on them.
Heck yeah.
For sure.
And I love the idea of being tied to a ship. Like, I'm getting so many Banner Saga vibes of just, like, being tied to the caravan, you know? I love being attached to something like that in a JRPG. Sure. Like, even Dragon Quest VIII having, like, the alchemy pot and the king and the princesses, the caravan, you know?
Right.
I think that's a cool element to kind of ground you in the world and give you something else to kind of, get that dopamine, pump up the ship and the caravan. And I love that idea.
Yeah, because, I mean, think about a lot of RPGs that you play where, like, let's say you see a chest. What's going to stop you from getting that chest? Like, maybe there's some sort of light navigational puzzle element to it, but it's like, if I see something in the world, I'll go and I'll get it. Yeah. With Pillars of Eternity 2, you see, like, a sunken ship, or you see a burial site. And it's like, I can go and investigate that, but if I do that, that's going to take more food. That's going to take more daily wages. That's going to take more water.
Love that.
And it's not like it's so oppressive that exploring it all is a pain. It's not that. But it's just that little extra pause that you have to take. It's like, wait a minute. Where am I going? What am I doing?
I don't want to say like survival horror, but like resource management. Yeah.
Right.
You know? I love that. As long as it's not too like Don't Starve-y, where it's like, this is I love Don't Starve, but it's so hardcore with like managing it.
One thing that I will say about Divinity Original Sin 2 versus Pillars of Eternity, as far as like combat goes, I feel like in Pillars of Eternity 1 and Pillars of Eternity 2, I was able to just be like, okay, I see what's going on here. I've played things very similar to this. With Divinity Original Sin 2, especially since my experience with Divinity Original Sin 1 was not that extensive, I really had to learn it. And I just would get my ass kicked until it was like, no, I understand everything now. Like, it's so challenging that you really have to kind of play on its terms. Whereas, like I said, with Pillars of Eternity 2, if you kind of understand the basic fundamentals on Classic, you can probably do just fine.
Cool.
So, Brandon, we've been talking a lot about Pillars of Eternity 2 and Divinity Original Sin 2, and I remember when Divinity came out. You expressed a lot of enthusiasm for it.
Excited for the PS4 version.
Yeah, except for the PS4 version. Any interest in Pillars at all?
If I had all the time in the world, sure.
Okay.
You know, I think it's just the size of it, but that is definitely something. It's always kind of a genre, like you brought up Baldur's and KOTOR, and like I played those, you know, back in the day. But yeah, I'm not. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just like that the kid in me that just wants to kick a little more ass, and this game is letting me kick. You know, like just
that's an interesting thing.
Just from
Jones
dude,
loves kicking ass in games.
I'm gonna lose some fans here, like because this is just pure ignorance on my part, and I know that. But like I distinctly remember booting up KOTOR back in the day on the Xbox. And leaving that first room that you leave, and the first guy came up, and you pull out the pistol, and it freezes, and I was like, oh no, I'm not playing this. I was like, I really didn't know. I had no idea.
That took you out of it.
We just had screenshots.
Yeah.
And I had like all the gameplay trailers, just like you lightsabers, rah! You know, and like they didn't really show. I didn't see like a behind the scenes video. You know, now we just get like hours of footage of games before we get to play them. So I did not have an idea of like how that played, and I was like, oh wait, I have a blaster and I have to like freeze the I'm not like I just want to run around and pew pew dudes, and so like that just might be my temperament, like not a critique of the game at all,
right?
But you love RPGs,
right?
That's
so that's the thing, like
I do. I love Final Fantasy 6, one of my favorites. Final Fantasy 9 we were just talking about earlier.
Wouldn't that have been an easy transition? Like
it's weird, yeah. It's but at the same time, there's a lot of turn-based RPGs I'm not playing that much lately.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of like the running and gunning now. I think that's more of just my temperament.
Let me throw this at you. So in Pillars of Eternity 2, you have this sort of, you can turn it on or off, but you can make it so your party members, like let's say you give them a command and you don't give them a follow-up command, they'll just be acting on their own. So they'll cast spells, they'll heal, they'll attack, they'll do different things on their own. And so for me, a lot of basic battles, you kind of just let the party do their own thing. And it's competent enough. They make some stupid decisions, but it's competent enough that you can get through a lot of fights. And then every once in a while, when you get in a tougher fight, it's like, okay, slow this down and pause. And so I'm not finding myself pausing excessively in a lot of instances. Does that appeal to you?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just talking about Marvel Strike Force and Galaxy of Heroes before this, and I play a turn-based RPG every day, but I auto battle a lot of that stuff.
Sure.
For me, it's just kind of the fun aesthetic of watching these characters jump around and fight each other, and not necessarily like the need to be like, no, I want to get the maximum effectiveness out of this fight. So yeah, but it's just I think it's less of if it was like the only game in the world in front of me, I wouldn't be like, no, you know, like of course I would have blast playing through that game. It's just a matter of what am I going to sink, 40, 50 hours into.
Sure.
But tempting, and certainly Divinity now that it's on PS4, especially with co-op. Like,
yeah.
I have a couple of long-standing RPG friends that I'm sure I would have a blast doing that. It's just it wouldn't be a campaign I wouldn't want to finish. It would be something that I would want to be serious about when I started. Like, no, we're doing this. We're saying Friday nights, clear your calendar. We're making it happen.
Do you carry stuff in from 1 to 2? A lot of
you
stuff?
can. You totally can. Yep. And they reference 1 a lot.
Cool. Do you keep your character levels, or
you can import a save from Pillars of Eternity 1 into Pillars of Eternity 2?
Cool. Banner Saga.
Or you can also do you can simulate choices from 1 if you want to do that. Or you can just start completely fresh as well. But yeah, they reference 1 a lot. There is a density. Like if somebody were to ask me the question, hey, can I get started into without any knowledge of 1? It's like, yeah, you totally can. Just are you willing to read a little bit?
Yeah.
So.
God, speaking of Banner Saga, I played Banner Saga 2, Huber, at PAX. I have never gotten so beat so hard in a demo I played at an event in my life.
It'll mess you up.
I failed that thing in every possible way you could.
There's the giant.
Just ruthless.
Yeah, it's ruthless.
So I don't,
But you probably jumped right in and you didn't know the stats or the moves. Exactly. No harm.
But I just think it's not I'm just not good at those games. I like to be good at games, at least competent in those games sometimes. Like, woohoo. Dead.
Before we move on to the second half of the show, I guess it won't be a half, but the part 2 of the show.
Phase 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Phase 2.
There was something that you brought up, Huber, that I'm really curious about, and I think speaks both to Brandon Jones and Michael Huber a lot, and that is Batman Ninja.
Yeah. Batman Ninja. I don't want to spoil anything, so this is going to be less than 5 minutes.
I wish I could help you with this, but I have
all
not.
good.
It's happening soon. I haven't seen it yet.
This movie's off the rails. This movie's insane. If you want some insanity with your Batman, fire it up. I rented this on PlayStation as $5 for a rental. Basically, Batman gets transported to feudal Japan. Yeah. This movie's crazy. It really is. I don't want to give anything away.
But okay, question.
It is a straight up anime. It is a Batman anime film. I watched it in the Japanese audio, which was very strange. I don't think I've watched.
Yeah, that's tempting.
I don't think I've ever watched Batman in Japanese ever, so that was a trip. Yeah, and it's just really weird. And you know me, I watch Gotham. I'm always down for some weird take on Batman, anything. And this was a very different, weird take, and I love anime. So it's a good time. It's not like the greatest thing ever. I think the announcement may have been more hype than the actual movie itself. But it's still absolutely worth a watch and a really fun time.
It's certainly unique.
And very unique. Yeah. And some really good action, again, anime style action. Just imagine Batman in anime, he the way he zips around as it is, just like crank that up even more. Him zipping around, throwing smoke, batarang here, grapple there.
I'm a little torn, Huber, because that sounds awesome. Yeah. Just on the most superficial level.
Yes.
Just Batman, feudal Japan, anime fights. Great. Like, all of that sounds good. But then I think about the reason why Batman is my favorite superhero. Of course. Is because he has the most interesting villains, and he has really interesting storylines that deal well with real world things, and how believable Gotham City is. All of this stuff. Like, the groundedness of Batman on some level is what makes him such an appealing character. And I'm not saying like removing that can't be a fun time, but is it just that? Or is there a compelling storyline there as well?
I didn't really connect to the story that much.
What is the story?
Gorilla Grodd, time travel stuff, other villain. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's basically. All right, this is not a spoiler. This is within the first 20 minutes. This is the only thing I'm going to say about it. So if you want to know nothing, skip ahead.
Timestamps in the description.
This is it. It's not even a big spoiler. When Batman gets transported, because Gorilla Grodd is the one doing it, he attacks Grodd and like something goes down. So then everyone gets transported back, but Batman for some reason gets transported back 2 years later. So everyone gets transported to feudal Japan, and they've already established, like Joker and his villains, like, are in control. So like Two-Face, everyone, Right. So they've established control when Batman finally gets there.
Okay.
So it's about Batman and like, he's got allies too. It's about Batman trying to like stop the Joker and everyone. So the story to me was okay. It was more about Batman versus samurais. Like, let's watch that.
Right.
So,
that's fair. Hey, it doesn't have to be more than that. I was just curious.
Like, straight away, dude.
Yeah.
Immediately, Batman versus samurais. Like, let's go.
How long
they
is
waste
it?
no time. 85 minutes.
Okay.
Quick hitter.
All right.
Yeah.
So that gives you a good idea.
Get in, you get out.
Great.
The animation's cool. It's like a cross between 3D and watercolors.
Okay.
Like it's like 3D watercolor
Kind of Okami
painting
vibes,
a little bit. Yeah, it's cool. The art style's cool, and the animation.
Brandon, I know very well how you feel about Batman. Sometimes unclear about how you feel about anime. How does this sound from Michael Huber?
Oh, this sounds great. I think not only to put him in a world where he has to learn about other cultures. Obviously, he's a very cultured man because he traveled the world and learned from lots of different walks of life, ways to be.
I was waiting for Kyodai to show up. Wasn't born yet.
To be a detective, to be a good fighter, to learn all sorts of things about just being a good person. But So it's not only just this walk of life and him like having to absorb what this world is like, and I that's interesting, that 2-year gap, him trying to get caught up on like what's happening, and seeing all of these other people that he is trying to save, although he spends most of his time beating the crap out of Two-Face and Joker. That like at the end of the day, he is trying to make their lives better by stopping them from being their worst selves. But just artistically, it's fun to see him look like he hasn't looked before, and I always like when somebody's got some weird, crazy. Kojima did that like weird figure at Comic-Con or something.
Oh, it was it was Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy artist.
But wasn't Nomura? What is it? Nomura did
Nomura did a Batman one. Yeah.
Okay. I just love. I think the thing for me as a Batman fan,
I was spacing out there. Sorry.
They were saying many people have done many very, wacky variants. Even like Batman Beyond, I think was just a very striking variant of the character.
Yeah.
And I just like it when I want it to be labeled as such. I like going into something like that knowing, buckle up, this is going to go off the rails that we wanted it to.
Yeah.
And so when I get when my feathers get ruffled a little bit as a Batman fan is when people are like, no, this is Batman at its best. This is how Batman always should have been. It's like, wait and stop. Like, and so I think that's one of the reasons with Gotham for me. I kind of got those vibes early on where they were like, we're getting to the bottom of this. You're like, okay.
No, Gotham's having fun.
I think that's just how, they sold it.
They marketed it. Yeah. The initial marketing was not
the marketing
what it is
for
now.
Ninja has been very like, no, you're getting what you pay for here. There's no question. So
I'm
excited about it.
How far do they go with? So you're dealing with villains that you know very well, and usually what they have access to and like the way that they fight. How does that change in this Japanese setting? So the Joker, like what does he do when he doesn't have access to all of this high-tech stuff?
I don't want to spoil that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on, give me something. Like, is that explored like pretty thoroughly? Is it fun? Is it creative? We can't be so sensitive about spoilers that we can't talk about the thing. Of course.
He has brought somehow, again, a 2-year gap and like Grodd and technology, like he has implemented his zaniness on. Like you have when you're the leader or whatever, you have like in feudal Japan, like Dynasty Warriors, you have like your castle, Okay. He Joker's castle. Yeah. He Joker likes to make really cool places that are dangerous to go through. So maybe he would do that again. And it's really cool.
So it's surprising.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's something really surprising that's really cool.
Joker's Sin Fortress.
Joker knows how to have a party, that's for sure.
Okay.
So, and of course there's like samurais and ninjas, so we're obviously getting that. Like, a lot of ninjas, a lot of samurai, a lot of martial arts.
When we talk about violence here, we're talking like lots of blood.
PG-13, so nothing crazy, like Killing Joke and stuff, which wasn't very good. It was rated R.
Yeah.
But this one's PG-13, so good action, like crazy.
That slight Killing Joke dig, I love it.
Yeah.
Killing Joke, rated R, wasn't very good.
Rated R wasn't very good. So, definitely worth a watch.
I'm looking at this list that we've got here, and there's something very quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on this that I have to bring up because it's just been like so pure in its discovery. And that is, so when I was doing the Demo Disc project, which I did for the 2-year anniversary that we did, played a bunch of stuff, some things I had never experienced before, and something I had always missed the boat on. I played a little bit of Thieves in Time, but beyond that, I had no experience with Sly Cooper. And so I was playing the PS2 demo of Sly Cooper, and I couldn't believe how much fun it was. From the look of it, this really vibrant, cartoony style, to the sound, the way that you would walk, and it would go dun 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 dun, just sort of this theatrical thief, and how well it controlled. I had
stealth.
Such a great time with it that recently I bought the collection of Sly Cooper, and I was talking to Kyle about it, and he was being very enthusiastic about it as well. And so last night, I played a little bit of Sly Cooper, the Thievius Raccoonus, and holy hot hell does that game hold up.
Oh, hell yeah. All those games, man. Ratchet and Clank, Jack 1, and Sly Cooper 1 all still hold up.
I was having such a good time, Hubert, because sometimes it doesn't need to be more complicated than it is. I think that's something that Tropical Freeze does really, really well. And what I mean by that is you have these levels that feel big enough so the secrets that you're finding are interesting and satisfying, and the secrets that you're finding are these clues. And when you collect the clues, 20, 30 clues, you can open this safe. And I had so much for the first time I did it. I was like, okay, is this going to be worth it? Like, what am I going to get for this? When you do it, you get a brand new move.
Yeah.
You add a new move to your arsenal. And I was like, wait a minute. I want to see all the moves that I'm going to get. And so then I got a roll. And then I got another thing where it's like, hey, we'll alert you to clues. And so it felt really worthwhile. And it wasn't, again, it's not so big and there aren't so many clues that it's hard to do. But fun enough that like, oh, they put it in that clever place, or how do I get there? And you just, it's very simple. You have a double jump. You can whack them with your cane. I got a dive move. I got a roll. And it was just a fun, simple 3D platformer. Yeah. And the levels were extremely varied so far based on what I've played, which is not too much so far, but I'm going to go through the whole thing, I promise. The girlfriend was also very much liking it, which helps. But like you're climbing on ropes and like electric fan blades are going across. You're jumping on these vents and then there's like fire below and you have to avoid them. There are lily pads that you have to do. There are searchlights where if you avoid them, you can hit the thing at the end and then you don't have to worry about the security anymore. It's just very fun, very simple. The way it's presented is good. They kind of get you in immediately. I mean, the game starts and you're in the middle of a heist trying to get this file so you can learn more about the Thievius Raccoonus. So there's not a lot of buildup. There's not too much talking. It's just immediately fun. And I really respect games that can do that and get behind that.
Yeah.
So you talked about Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, and I don't have any experience with Jak and Daxter either. Jak and Daxter is something I missed the boat on. But Ratchet and Clank, I've definitely played and enjoy Ratchet and Clank. I know you love all of those.
Yeah.
Where would you slot Sly Cooper in with the different ones?
It's for me, I love Ratchet and Clank, and then it's Jak and Sly, kind of on an even footing.
Okay.
I've gone through all the Jak games. I got through only Sly 1 and like halfway through of 2 because I got it late. I definitely played Sly Cooper late because we had this conversation on one of the streams. It was like those three franchises were all around the same time. They all had sequels that came out really quickly.
Yeah.
You know, it was hard to stay up with all three of those, but all three of those just have had such a big impact on my life and on like PlayStation as a brand as a whole.
Yeah.
Those were some of the best exclusives like Naughty Dog and Insomniac. And
would you say you put Ratchet maybe slightly above the other two because of what the weapons bring to the table?
What the weapons bring to the table, the connection between Ratchet and Clank, I always thought was so charming and interesting and earned like their whole, just even not only in the first game but just as the series goes on, you know, dealing with Clank's identity, dealing with Ratchet's identity, that stuff was a little more interesting than, wow, I can't believe I'm saying it was more interesting than a heist, but yeah, it kind of was.
Yeah.
And Jak and Daxter, you know, 2 took it in a direction that, you know, not a lot of people liked. It got really like GTA-ish, you know. And then Jak 3 came around, way more action-oriented, whereas Jak 1 is like Crash Bandicoot style. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just love. I can't help myself but always just talking about the three of them together because, you know, I feel like they're all one big family and they all offer something so different, but they also have kind of the same heart. You know, just those franchises are so easy and inviting to get into, and they all like Ratchet and Clank might do action way better than Sly, but boy, Sly has some really awesome stealth sections and some really good puzzles. You know, so yeah, I just love that. I love them all.
I got the same feeling when I was playing through Infamous, but it's just recently it's been rekindled because I'm playing Sly Cooper for the first time, and I'm like, wow, you know, Sly Cooper Punch is just a really good developer. Ghost of Tsushima is probably going to be excellent. We have no reason to believe that Ghost of Tsushima is not going to be excellent based on past work.
Was the last game they did First Light? Last Light?
Second Son.
Second Son? Okay. Yeah. Maybe their worst game.
Really?
and I thought it was good. I thought it was good, but
I'm so mad at myself.
Oh, I guess Sly. Who did Sly 4 though? I don't even. Yeah, they didn't do Sly 4.
No, what was it? It starts with an S. Is it like Sanzaru or
something like that?
Yeah, that did Thieves in Time. Anyway,
moot point.
Yeah, I'm so mad at myself, Hubert, and I know you're going to be mad at me for this too. I played Infamous 1 and loved it.
Yeah.
I loved Infamous 1.
We talked about it.
I have not
stream.
played Infamous 2 or Second Son yet. And
2 is worth a play.
Yeah, I hear
bet
Infamous 2
it
is
holds up
phenomenal.
real nice.
Yeah.
2 is so good. When Bloodworth agrees with the hype is nothing better. When I'm like having a conversation with Ben about like, dude, Ben, you should play Infamous 2, and then Blood out of nowhere is like, oh yeah, you definitely gotta play Infamous 2. And it's like, yes, validation, let's go.
Brandon, really quick, how do you feel about the 3 well-regarded 3D platformers of the PlayStation brand? I mean, of the PS2 era.
I hope you were going to ask me that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Just
it's okay.
You don't have experience with them. It's
Ratchet
fine.
and Clank, little to no experience.
Okay.
Like none. Never went through. Admire it.
You should play the reboot then.
It looks like a jolly time. I just I don't know why. I can't really put it into words. It's just maybe I'm missing that nostalgia, so that there's that attachment to these characters to want to replay that. But yeah, the new one looked like a lot of fun. And Sly, I played the very first one and then had no experience past that. I remember one of my favorite things about Sly was the fact that he could attach himself to a rail and then walk on these really thin areas. And I remember being like, what a fun, cool thing to do in a platform. I never really thought about that. You would think like, no, being attached to something takes all the fun out of it. But it's like, no, the animation it makes it so much more worth it. What I did play and did absorb was Jak. And I played Jak 1, Jak 2, destroyed them. And then like I think I might have like bought 3 and then get into it, or like really wanted to do 3. And this is why I didn't want you to bring this up. When they came back out again on PS3 or PS4, I went back and played Jak and Daxter, and I something was missing. I don't know what it is. I think it might have been that the relationship between Ratchet and Clank is so charming.
Yeah.
And
Cork.
The style of
villains.
Sly Cooper is so it's got like fun Batman vibes, just the stealth and the darkness and everything, the noir aesthetic. And there just wasn't as much character in the first Jak that I remembered. It was just kind of had this almost kind of like a Mario vibe where there were characters like, yeah, I'm here. And that's it. I don't really have a lot to say. I think the main thing when Jak and Daxter first came out that blew my mind was I remember like getting to one part up high on a cliff and looking back and being like, oh, there's that boat I was at earlier. And then being like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There were no loading screens between when I was at that boat. Whoa. And I think it was just like the world and the how everything was connected, which again is SSX. I'm just a sucker for that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And 2 was impressive too because you would go into these little elevator sections that would mask the loading screens. And God of War is still doing that now. There's some areas where you're like ducking in through caves and like that's how they mask like loading the next area now.
Something that I've really think I've finally made peace with myself on. That creates these pockets like Infamous 2 and other things is I like to bounce around a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Like I'll be playing Jet Set Radio and then we'll play Silent Hill and like I'll go through these games and I'll love them, but there's so many different types of games that I love and there are so many options and that's why I think re-releases are so great.
Yeah.
That it's fun to just play something completely different. It's fun to just spend an hour playing PixelJunk Monsters too.
It's how you and I got into Sly because I missed it the first time around and when the remaster
What's that collection on
came out,
PS3.
PS3 and you can play it on Vita as well.
And there's
cross-play and cross-save, I think.
And the collection for Jak, collection for Ratchet.
Yep.
All of them.
I've been playing a lot on my PS3.
Nice.
A lot.
See what Brad's
great.
on here. Brad loves Sly more than
Does he?
anyone. It is like
Does he?
Loves it
Cool. I'm excited to talk to
he
him
missed
about it.
Jak and Ratchet.
Yeah.
When they came out, he was all about Sly
That's so
growing
funny.
up. And oh my gosh, he loves those games.
Yeah.
Like just go up to him and say something Sly Cooper related, he'll freak out.
Really?
Yeah. If you see him in chat or anything, throw Brad a Sly Cooper reference. He will always eat it up.
Yeah. My experience on Sly Cooper 1 so far, I don't think translates to words the best because the ultimate feeling is it's just kind of charming my pants off and that's fun. And so, I'd be curious to pick his brain and see what he thinks about the series.
I think he likes 1 and 2 the most.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious what I don't even know what like the general opinion is on which one is the best. I don't really care. I just
the
want
fourth
to play
one came out and I think it was like not poorly received, but not excellent.
Not at the level
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Okay.
But still, a new entry, I'm down. It's cool.
You know what I have a lot of experience with?
Yes.
So much experience that it hurts.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I did not expect that.
I did.
He did. That was an easy one. We've kind of got a beefy HOTTAKE today. There was a thing that happened, something that Brandon feels very passionately about, doesn't like. We got some leaks to talk about.
Leaks. Oh, this one hurt.
This
dude.
one does hurt.
This
one
one
does
sucks.
hurt. If you don't want to hear about leaks, timestamps in the description.
Yeah,
We're gonna be talking about.
How do you not?
This one sucks.
This one hit you right in the face.
Yeah.
Walmart Canada,
Thanks.
as pointed out by Wario64.
I'm no longer
spoiled
buying
a
all
lot of
dressed
E3.
up chips.
Because
I'm out.
You're gonna spite Canada.
Yeah, that's it.
And the way that you spite Canada is you don't buy these
There's
specific Ruffles
Ruffles.
brand chips. That's right, Canada. We're mad. Obviously, I think in the nature of this conversation, we're going to talk about what this leak means, how big of a deal we think it does, how ruinous or not ruinous it is.
No
to-
pressure, but
to
I am
E3.
so hyped that Jones is here. Oh my
I am
god.
hyped that Jones is here, too.
yes.
I wanted to tweet out how mad I was about that, but then I thought, no, I'm going to be calling it. So I'm never going to get questions. Wait, what are? Because I was literally just going to tweet, "Damn it, Walmart." And so I knew people were going to be like, what did Walmart do? And then look it up and then get spoiled. And so I'm like,
Right.
don't even want to.
Nice.
I can't even tweet about it.
Well, I think it's interesting, and we're going to talk about it.
I think Bethesda handled it better than anyone could have possibly
Bethesda did handle
handled
Bethesda
it.
with
So
the
let's
3-point
give this a little bit of context.
away.
I want to go through
I
the
love
list
you,
here
Bethesda.
of leaked games,
you.
but the
Hines
most
gets stoked
interesting
about,
thing.
Pete Hines said they're going to have more than ever at their press conference. So
The most interesting thing I think of this list is Rage 2.
Yeah. What in the hell?
yeah,
Right.
What in the hell?
Now they've gone out there and said that Pete Hines has said, hey, Rage sold enough to warrant a sequel. And Rage honestly reviewed pretty well also. But you think about what Bethesda's been doing to come back to Rage, not the most expected thing in the world. And your mind starts to wonder with what they could do with it.
Yeah,
so
it
it could be
was-
exciting. So I want to talk about Rage 2.
Extremely unexpected, Ben. This really, really shocked me.
It is, yeah. But let's
Yeah.
go through this list here. Let's talk about the things that Walmart Canada leaked. Tom Clancy's The Division 2. Probably not.
Which
That's
I think
surprising.
we
Which they already
pretty much
announced.
knew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which
They
I'm
already
excited
No,
for.
no, sorry. With all these, I'm not necessarily
Curious.
saying that
Yeah.
they announced them for the first time. I'm just saying that this is a big list
Okay.
of things that they put up all together. Splinter Cell,
That one.
rumored
Just Cause 4,
out of nowhere. Bring it.
Dragon Quest 2, which makes me think they're
Builders 2.
Builders 2, right? But very funny that they
Dragon
just
Quest 2.
listed it
Yeah,
as Dragon
remastered.
Quest 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Destiny Comet. So this is what you're referring to, this thing coming out
Yeah.
that is going to be a big
Transformative.
Taken King style of expansion.
A
for
new
Destiny.
way to experience first-person shooters.
Oh boy.
Something along those lines. It's not verbatim.
Metroid Prime 4, Borderlands 3, just Assassin's Creed is on here. What else is interesting? Borderlands 3, I think. Forza Horizon 5, which doesn't make any sense because there wasn't a Forza Horizon 4. So again, you think that that's just some sort of error on their part. Gears of War 5 is another one. And so I kind of want to go through and talk about these things individually, how big of a deal you think they are or not. But let's talk about Rage 2. If nothing else was said about it, no other details came out. Brandon Jones, if I put a copy of Rage 2 in front of you right this second, would you play it? Would you be interested?
I would. I had fun with Rage.
Okay.
I dug it. I thought Rage was the kind of game where I enjoyed it until I didn't. Like the parts I didn't enjoy, or there were parts I thought they could improve, but the parts I liked, I really liked. Rage was at the time a gorgeous game. I mean,
Yes.
Well,
Rage
after the patches, we'll get into it.
yeah, I think but very visually interesting. Lots of contrast between light and dark.
Mega textures.
Very aggressive enemies. Lots of not really simply just shooting at you. Lots of dudes that like to jump up on the ceiling.
Top tier shotgun.
Really, yeah, good shotgun. Lots of like climbing. So dudes, you'd see a guy down below and he would like climb up a railing and jump over. Really interesting characters. Very interesting world. And I liked the racing element to it. It just seemed like there was kind of a disconnect between those two things. That,
Yes.
There was not like a synergy that I would feel, even like a game that I think I'd probably score less, even though I did not review either of those games. But Mad Max, there's definitely much more of an attachment that I don't like park in a garage and then poof, now I'm in first person and then now I'm hopping in my car and now I'm just in these car sections. So right there for a sequel, adding not only just, your car, but possibly, I know there were airships, but you just kind of traveled, there were flying vehicles. You would just take them from one area to another automatically, like a loading screen. And so that would be very interesting if they had just way more variants in vehicles. Co-op, oh boy, I think would suit that style of that game very, very well. So if you had some kind of a sidecar.
Did you finish Raid?
Combat. I did, and that ending sucked.
Legendary
and a lot of people would talk about
ending.
Just,
legendary.
And not even so much about the writing, or really that's not what I really wanted to have happen in the story. It's just kind of that scene where somebody's in a bad dream and they open a door and there's a brick wall there, and you're like,
it's over.
All right. And it was weird for them to build up so much of that and then just to completely just
Phantom Pain situation.
Fast forward directly to credits. Very, very abrupt. Even Phantom Pain was kind of like, oh, okay. At least at least I could see the characters of Phantom Pain in the cutscene that concluded it. But it literally just cut to, the biggest picture you could possibly look at, and thumbs up, you did it, credits.
Right.
Okay. And a very not very interesting final encounter. That seemed to kind of be setting up another encounter after that. But lots of really interesting stuff going on there. And post-apocalyptic can be something that can be very traditionally done in kind of a snooze fest sometimes, where you're just a lot of people attach that to something and then that's the end of it. Alex, I think, was recently a game. There's an open world post-apocalyptic game that somebody asked me on social media. They're like, that would seem like really up your alley. And I'm like, it just seemed really generic. And there's just something, Rage just had a lot of personality to it. And the faces of Rage were really interesting. And it just seemed like a lot of love and care was put into it, just not always in the best places.
Came out at my height of PC gaming. I was in college for this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
PC gaming prime. And
wow, when I played this, I didn't know you.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy? And when this came out,
right, that is a weird thing.
Whoa.
Right?
When this game came out, it was gonna be the best looking visual craziness. And when this came out on PC, there were an insane amount of visual problems. I remember being so excited day one, getting Rage, booting it up on my PC, and there being all these crazy graphical glitches. Carmack came out and was like, yo, NVIDIA, we're working with them. It was like crisis mode for Rage. So immediately bad impression. So it was like a bad impression going in, and then with the ending of the game, a bad impression going out. But in the middle of that, there are some good ideas. The world is cool. The shotgun is amazing. And I think the idea that would get me excited for Rage 2, it sounds so simple, and so many games are going that route now, but open world. I mean, it was mostly an open world game, but doubling down on RPG elements, maybe even taking a slight page from Destiny, having public events and more of an ecosystem and a world with other players. It'll be interesting to see if it is multiplayer or if it is just single player going through the story, or if there's a separate mode. But yeah, a lot of questions. Just very surprising and very shocking that they would go back to Rage 2. I'm just still surprised by this days later after hearing about it.
When I compare Rage to something like a Wolfenstein or the 2016 Doom, the reason why I consider the Wolfenstein and Doom to be better games is because there's a very clear focus to them.
Yeah.
They know what they want to do, and they accomplish those things. With Rage, I think the thing that's frustrating for me,
they wanted those RPGs.
They have all this other stuff,
Yeah.
but none of it is very good, and kind of takes away from the things that it does do well.
Yeah.
And so you guys were talking about the world and it being interesting and having personality. I agree, but exploring those places, which they let you do, there's not actually all that much to uncover. It's pretty shallow in what you can find. And the car combat, which I love the idea of post-apocalyptic car combat, it just, I remember it not leaving much of an impression or not being very fun to engage in. And so I think they would really have to flesh it out and rework it.
The Smash TV stuff was best part, going into those game show.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Those were always so fun going in. There's traps everywhere. And again, I can't get enough of that shotgun in that game. So, I mean, so you have all that on paper, you know? It's like, okay, cool. Smash TV stuff, economy, some cool little towns throughout, and people you can interact with and get quests and explore. And on paper, let's go. Another crack at it.
Right. So looking at this list here,
Maybe you could go prequel.
Ooh, because you were asleep. Yeah, like you did go into cryo sleep
think
and wake up so many years after.
I think for this specific instance, a prequel would get me more excited. And it's almost kind of like you could treat it as a soft reboot, because it's like, okay, let us reintroduce you to the world of Rage rather than picking up after that legendary.
would you want it to be a big open world game?
I do, I think, for Rage 2. I think it is tailor-made for open world, strictly
if
because
it
of
was
the car
anything like Mad Max,
traversal.
I'd be like, oh crap, I gotta play this. Like,
Yeah.
And what do you mean by that?
Being
Like,
attached to the car.
being in a car, driving
Leveling it
out,
up.
seeing something in distance. What's that thing? Going over,
Yeah.
getting out of the car, checking it out, spending 8 minutes there, and then, okay, got all my little materials there, having the map clearly say, you're done with that area. You never have to come back to this little tiny spot ever again. Great, cool. Back in my car, drive around. Slowly upgrading my car bit by bit by bit. Hooking or smashing or forcing cars off of a road, seeing them crash into rocks and explode into billions of pieces. Just never got old. Very much fun.
Yeah, this game exists. It's gonna look beautiful.
What is it? The wing stick?
Yeah,
Is
the
that what they
character
call
models
it?
in Mad Max
The
were
boomerang?
everyone was
Yeah.
ugly. It's usually like the main character looks
That
good
thing
and then
was
everyone else
fun.
looks bad. Max almost looked worse than anyone in that game. Whereas if you have the clear attention to detail of making like these really kind of interesting, just specifically in their faces, I was really like entranced with a lot of the characters from Rage.
I may love shotguns, but
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the wing stick, because I think it is so important for first-person shooters to have interesting weapons.
Oh, yeah.
I think of the reason, I bring up the rebooted Turok often because Turok had such creative weapons, and then the reboot just had like pistols, machine guns, shotguns, so boring. Even
Right.
I think the reboot of Doom played it a little safe with their weapon selection. And Wolfenstein 2 just has some really great tools, the giant beam gun, like Prey has some really interesting weapons.
And it doesn't take much. Like, not every weapon has to be
Exactly.
wacky, but there has to be something.
Yeah, so Rage 2, I do want to see a couple
And
out there weapons.
Who taught you the wing stick in Rage?
Your wife.
Amanda Troop.
Yeah.
Full disclosure.
I remember you saying that to me way, way back in the day.
I gotta
my
replay it.
wife's in that. I was like,
I
what?
totally had that thought. Where I was like, oh, Rage 2. I wonder if they're probably not going to call her. Of course, she's not going to book that. Like, that's just how wacky and upside down that industry is. Just like, no, they'll bring something new.
Brandon, you brought up something I think that I want them to double down on the most. I feel like enemy AI in shooters is still like pretty mediocre most of the time, and that was something that was really remarkable about Rage, like having enemies like climb on pipes like above you, and the ways that they would try to surprise you and the weird ways that they would move. That's what I'm most excited for.
Run at you screaming.
I'm so glad you guys brought this up, because how many years has it been of me criticizing The Forest for being in early access for 4 years?
Yeah.
Forest finally came out. IGN reviewed it. The entire review praises the AI, which surprised me. Just saying how incredible the AI is. So I'm wondering now, like, turning point, AI, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
You've always
Oh, yeah.
hyped it
Oh,
up.
yeah.
You just brought it up.
Right.
Super cool. Yeah, it just talked about how the enemies would stalk you, or the idea of enemies following you at a safe distance, I think is so creepy. They're like seeing what you do, but like you have no way to kill them, and they're just kind of watching you. I think that's so smart and eerie and cool.
I want to go back. We can keep talking about Rage, but I want to go back to this list because something jumps out to me here. We're seeing things that are exciting. We're seeing, Just Cause 4, Borderlands 3, Gears of War 5. We're seeing a lot of sequels, and with a lot of these games, I don't mean to be cynical, but I feel like you can kind of guess what they're going to be like. Does that bother you at all? Do you wish it was a little bit crazier, or are you just happy that we're getting more of some of this stuff? Now, to preface that, I think Splinter Cell could be really cool.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of room there to not only bring that back, but
To reinvent it.
To reinvent it. Yeah.
I love franchises and I love new IPs.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of either, so it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. You want to show me a brand new IP? Let's go. You want to show me the 7th entry of a game? Let's go. Just as hyped for either. I feel like sequels get leaked more because the people maybe doing the leaking are more aware that it already exists or something? Or do you think maybe when you're more protective of a new IP, so it's like super lock and key, nobody knows anything about this? Like,
sure, like Ghost of Tsushima,
like,
we'd never heard Tsushima. Like,
Yeah.
and actually there was that one weird leak of like the local newspaper wrote a story about it, and
like
Shuhei
harder-
was like, "Oh no," and then like nobody read that article.
Right.
But yeah, that's a good call actually. Yeah, when it's hard to figure out like what exactly am I looking at
Yeah.
here, versus like, oh okay, you know, you see
Borderlands 3, we know,
green
we've
in the
heard that a
headset and
million
everything.
times.
Yeah.
Like,
What I like about all the sequels that you mentioned is none of those I think on that list are like, oh good, because that's continuing that story that we were waiting to see the conclusion of. They're all
That's a
just
good
like,
point.
who knows?
Yeah.
Borderlands 3 could be very different. Splinter Cell could probably just be called Splinter Cell. They could
Yeah.
go like a Tomb Raider route. Gears could just reset and bring in a whole bunch of new characters, and I don't think that would be, you know, too out of left field. So I think it's an interesting opportunity for. I hope. I don't know. I really did not like the characters in Gears. I'm like, I do
Yeah.
not care about this ragtag band. That
I feel like aren't they kind of tied to those characters that they went out of their way to introduce in 4 though and continue that story? I mean, I don't think it's going to be too crazy, right?
I don't know. I think that would be. I mean, because think about what would really take you. The dust has settled for E3.
Yeah.
We're all looking back. Is Gears the game that you're talking about? I don't know. Like,
the last one was the worst one. So,
so I mean,
don't
like,
think Gears of War 4 is worse than Judgment.
I
don't buy
forgot
that.
about Judgment. Sorry. Well, the worst
so-
mainline one.
So yeah, if if they do start in this new one where there's just like most of these people are dead, like they're like something happened actually, and I don't know. I think that would be interesting. That would shock me, as opposed to like, the mystery van is riding out on the rails again, and here goes the same characters that you're familiar with. But I just think there's so many things that have happened this gen that were surprising to me. Not to bring up Breath of the Wild for like the 5,000th time, but like how surprised I was with that series and how much I had not played Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword and a lot of like the Zelda offerings over the years, and then like
Right.
absolutely put this on the top of my must play list. And so every time we get a new entry in one of these franchises, in any franchise, I think that it's, we were just talking about how we're kind of tepid on Shadow of the Tomb Raider and how it's like this does not cut it kind of now, where not to just satisfy your fan base, but to really branch out and have people make this a must play. So
Yeah.
I think each one of those things can shake it up and do something really exciting.
It's interesting because when I was playing the demo of Tomb Raider recently with Bloodworth, it wasn't that it was bad, and it wasn't just that it was more Tomb Raider, but I was climbing on a wall and angling myself up in a way that I have done. And again, they're not identical. I'm not trying to say these games are the same, but that sensation was still there. It's like, I've done this in Shadow of Mordor. I've done this in Assassin's Creed. I've done this in Tomb Raider. I've done this in Uncharted. It's just like there's enough similarity between these things that I don't think we're starved for it. Therefore, like this new Tomb Raider game is not doing enough new to really be exciting for me. It kind of depends on what's going on.
Yeah.
And with Gears of War, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it's not exciting right now? Because what I think it's not that exciting right now, I actually think we put too much on Gears of War a little bit. I feel like because there's sort of this idea that Xbox doesn't have enough games, or that it doesn't have the kind of games that you're getting in other places, we're putting too many hopes on something like Gears of War to be this wild reinvention.
Well, it's
where
like,
I really do think that Gears of War 4 is a pretty solid game.
Well, it's like,
Sure.
but it's like what Kyle Bossman always says: mediocre is worse than a 10 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10. Like,
I don't even think it's mediocre.
I think it's so mediocre. I think it's
solid.
everything we've seen before. I think the combat
Sure.
is exactly the same as it's been for 5
Sure.
games. I think the encounters are not interesting. Like, that game is so aggressively average that like we're not building to anything in the story. There's like nothing we're attached to from the previous games. Like Marcus Phoenix felt shoehorned in. Like,
man, I don't know.
It put me in a such a like a who cares place with Gears now that like. For me, I would need a drastic shake up with like a new villain or like you said, a bunch of new characters. Like we've been on this road now for a while because they wanted 4 to connect back with Phoenix, and it's just, the road has been traveled.
I understand what you're saying. I think a huge shakeup would be beneficial, but there are a lot of moments in Gears of War 4 where I thought they were really, really well done. Being at Marcus's house and having the enemies crash in. Sure. Like, sometimes what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not saying that it wasn't disappointing or that it couldn't have been better. I think, like, on the Easy A podcast, I was like, yeah, I agree that was about a 7. But I think there's value in a 7. Sometimes I think...
Oh, sure.
Sometimes
Mad
I think
Max is a total 7. I could stop playing that thing.
Yeah.
Right. But I just think it's...
I think first party is a
maybe even less
little more pressure for a first party game.
Right. And I'm not saying that pressure isn't deserved. I just sometimes think when we feel a little bit disappointed, we get this tendency to just completely sweep it under the rug. And like, I think Gears of War 4 is a well-made game.
Yeah.
That if you like that style of game, you'll probably have some fun with. Sometimes I just think we're so condemning because it is first party, because they are struggling with this identity. Like, I don't know.
Then they
I want
added,
to be fair to it.
For sure, but then they added loot boxes, and it's like, remember when you guys invented Horde mode, and then when you guys like added Beast mode, it's like...
Right. Where are the ideas?
Where are the ideas?
That's it.
It is the...
Where are the ideas?
It is...
That's where I'm coming from.
The entire game is rooted in the past.
Not to dial it back to Rage again, but like clearly someone had an idea. Clearly somebody there was like, wait a minute, what if we did this with Rage? And to me, that's the vibe that I get why Rage is coming back. And so that I think is where we're at with these long-standing franchises, where they're like, wait a minute, I have an idea about something fun with Cappy that you could do with Mario. Wait a minute, I have an idea about how you could treat this open world with Zelda.
I have an idea how you can change Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, or even back to when Tomb Raider got rebooted. Like, wait, I think we can take it back to the drawing board and really reinvent this character and put her on an interesting journey and add some gameplay elements, that she did not have before. And so that's what I want. I want to be like, wait, I got an idea about Gears. You're gonna love this, as opposed to, oh, sales were good, let's make another one.
Yeah. Right.
And that's how I felt about the last Gears. Was that I wish I loved Gears more, because then I would love what I'm going through right now more.
I love 1 through 3.
Where I didn't play. I played 1 and 2, but I didn't play 3.
Sure.
Awesome.
And so yeah.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. It frustrates me sometimes when we have games in franchises that people really care about that I think are good but are not up to the same standard, so we dismiss them entirely. Like
it's not a Resident Evil 6 situation.
Right.
Right. So I do...
Perfect. I'm like, there's got to be more examples. Great example.
Resident Evil
7,
shakes it up. Resident Evil 4 shook it up. And I think being a first-party game and being as huge as Gears of War 1 was when it came out, and then 2, like, there's gonna be way more expectations, and 4 played it extremely safe. And this is coming after they did a prequel, which also played it safe.
Yeah.
So, like, no excuses.
Something that I've always wanted in Gears to lean way more into, and they haven't really, outside of brief moments, is I always think back to Gears of War 1, and there would be moments where I would be really scared.
Yeah.
Where they would slow down the pace.
The caves,
just like, I remember going through the labs and like things popping out of tubes. Like, there's always been kind of this very slight survival horror flavor to Gears that I thought they could kind of transition into.
Yeah.
Like,
and our first look at it kind of teased
the floor, the mansion,
Right.
We were like, dude, is it horror?
Right. I think you could really slow down the pace, give you far less resources, and you have an interesting game there that makes sense within the Gears universe.
Play as not a cog. Play as someone who, like a civilian, and you go Dead Space style. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like it.
There's other things to talk about here. Borderlands 3 is one, because the Allies have notoriously shat on Borderlands, which I don't think is fair. I like Borderlands 1 a lot. I like Borderlands 2 a lot.
I like Tales from the Borderlands a lot.
Sure. Borderlands, the pre-sequel, I could take or leave. But when I think, like, especially Borderlands 1 and 2, okay, that was a much different time than the time we're in now.
Yeah.
Where I think the things that Borderlands accomplished, a lot of other people took from and learned from, where it's not as distinct, maybe, as it once was. And you don't have to buy into this argument. That's just the argument that I'm making. Mm-hmm. Do you think Borderlands 3 has more of an uphill battle for it? Or...
I think
not?
Everything is an uphill battle right now because it's so many games and it's so competitive. But there has not been one on this gen, correct? Pre-sequel was last gen? Or was it cross-gen?
No. It was last gen.
Yeah. So I think anytime you're, launching your franchise on a new generation, I think you kind of get both. You get like more pressure, but also kind of the benefit of the doubt. Like, oh, let's see what it looks like on next gen, because you're going to see the leap in the franchise. It might not be up to snuff with other games on the market in terms of technology and presentation.
Yeah.
But, Borderlands 3 is going to look a lot better than the pre-sequel. And I think that's cool.
What do you think the tone could be? Like,
there's only one tone.
That's tied to the series. Like the series.
You don't think there's any sort of subversion they could do, any different take that they could do on it?
I have a feeling
no
trailer.
ideas.
I have a feeling the trailer reveal is going to be.
I don't have a lot of experience with it. I played Borderlands 1 solo.
I'd like to make
you
it
like
for
it?
like 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, I dug it.
Okay.
I'd like to make
like
a
what I
bet,
played.
Jones. I bet you the Borderlands 3 trailer is 90% comedy, and then the last 10% they're gonna try to get like super emotional. It's like Borderlands 3. Do you agree or disagree?
Do you think within that comedy they will make fun of like loot boxes?
They're gonna make fun of Battle Royale.
I can just see a loot box joke in the trailer.
Someone's gonna
right.
be parachuting
Or
in
Battle
and they're
Royale.
gonna get blown out of the sky.
That's
or
a good
something.
guess. That's a very good guess.
Yeah, like pretend that like it's announce like Borderlands Battle Royale and
Yeah.
fake out.
Nope.
What did you like about Tales from the Borderlands though?
Well, Telltale games, I do like the narrative games like that in general. I like the definitiveness of picking a choice and having to live with it.
Yeah.
And
But did you care about the characters? Was
I
it
did.
funny?
I actually did, and the world. I actually found myself interested in the Borderlands world because it was so grounded, and we were learning about like the corporations and the technology. Whereas when I played Borderlands 1 and 2, it was just more about like kill. So it was cool to have a different objective in that universe rather than guns, kill. I just thought it was well written, and I had no expectations, but I really liked it, and I found myself attached to the world. So I guess that's a good thing going into Borderlands 3. I'm totally open to the world.
I have a feeling size is going to be a big thing that they're pushing. I don't think Borderlands has taken this long because they have some crazy new mechanic that they're adding. I think they just were like, all right, this is next gen and
Hugest game.
We really just want to expand everything. So I think.
But how do you apply that size? Are we just because they give you so many different little modifiers to weapons and things like that. Do you just mean the areas that you're exploring?
The actual physical map. Mm-hmm. There will be a shot, which, or maybe like the last shot will be them on the edge of a cliff looking at an actively like crazy, world with stuff happening in it. Not just like, wow, that mountain range is really big. There'll be some big monster crawling all over it and stuff. Like,
do you think that that's kind of the direction they'll go, where it's like, we made it really, really big, and there will be giant creatures roaming around that could
like
interrupt your adventure or something like that?
Random plot that just came on the top of my head. What if it's like a Pandora's box situation? Like they do something like isn't like both games you're trying to get into the vault and you never do? Isn't that like the thing where like
I finished both Borderlands 1 and 2.
And I forget
everything. And I think in 1
you find
there's
you
open the vault in 1, and then
there's something massively disappointing in 1.
There's like nothing there. Something.
I think that's it. I think there's.
But then those characters are now
both
legends in 2. I remember because you encounter some of them and they're like legendary.
So it'd be neat if it was not post-apocalyptic, it was apocalyptic. Like literally the world is ending right now. So like you're on a planet that is going to die, that literally is going to crack open and explode in like a certain amount of time. And so it's just you get what you can while you can and find a ship and get the hell out of here. And so you're actively seeing like you like finish an area, and then when you leave, you see that area just blow up or like crumble or just fall to pieces. I think that would be kind of fun. Just to have the vibe that it's like it's not crazy because they're trying to sell it that way. It literally, this world is just like there's no quiet. There's no quiet space to find in this world. Like it's all chaos. It would be interesting, I think.
With all of these announcements,
Different from other things.
with all of these leaks, I don't think Borderlands 3, for example, you knew it was coming. But does this take the wind out of the sails of these specific games at E3? When those trailers come on, is it just not that exciting anymore?
Borderlands 3 got leaked a while back. I remember like a screenshot of a dude in like black armor. They were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think
we're really close to it.
I think
now.
Splinter Cell hurts. I think Rage 2 hurts.
Well, with Splinter Cell, you just had the very recent Sam Fisher crossover in Ghost Recon Wildlands as well.
I think they were kind of. If we were literally E3 right now, to like this very minute, and then with the Xbox press conference was about to start, or the Ubisoft press conference was about to start, and you were like, okay, what's you? I'd be like, we were clearly getting Splinter Cell.
But we've
even if
said
that
that
leak
for
hadn't happened.
so long, and it still hasn't happened. So there's still that seed of doubt. So when it finally gets announced, it's still surprising.
Yeah. When they have that moment where they're like, and now, fade to black, it's going to suck. So we're like, okay, we know what this is. Yeah. But at the end of the day, and this was when I was going through my various stages of grief after this announcement, where I was like, no, okay, what's the list? And then I went through that. It's like, well, I know all that now. And then I turned it around by saying like, well, I still haven't seen any of this.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. Yeah. And it is interesting. I think all of the people... that if you're Gearbox or if you're Ubisoft or if any people that got burnt by this, even the Avalanche making Just Cause 4, and like I'm assuming, you're like, well, crap. Now they know everything. Well, I mean, let's read the comments then. Well, let's see like what they're expecting it to be and what their fears are, and really get that last. Now we can. We can't change the trailer because we made this game and we're cutting that right now. But at least we can change how we announce it,
message.
And like what we say when we get up on stage, or at least we can maybe change the dialogue or the conversation a little bit beforehand to prep for the stuff that we know. Like, well, I don't want to see this. Like, we'll cross that off the list, and we won't mention it and then take that out of the game quietly later, if you can.
Because I think of last year, or it was last year with Assassin's Creed Origins and all the leaks with that, and we were extra harsh because Assassin's Creed Origins, we're all waiting for it. Okay, we see it. That's it, okay? Whereas if you don't know about a game and Splinter Cell just drops, there's that moment of just pure joy and hype that is, you're a little less critical. Now we're going to be extra critical. We're just
agree.
We're waiting for these games. Okay, show me Rage 2, show me Splinter Cell, versus like, whoa, Splinter Cell? I don't care what I'm seeing. It's Splinter Cell. Let's go. Yeah. So
absolutely.
It hurts. It hurts.
I completely agree with you. I think that is just human nature, because in order to fully evaluate something, you have to believe that it can exist. And now that like Rage 2 is being firmly rooted in your mind, you don't get to go through that initial phase of just kind of wonderment that it exists at all, and that sucks.
Now we're building it up in our heads.
Right.
Okay, Rage 2, open world.
This is what it's got to be.
Of all the examples, though, I think this. I wouldn't necessarily say it benefited Rage, but like it is the main game that raised a conversation following that leak.
Absolutely.
And like Rage 2 was trending on May 10th. Would Rage 2 have been trending on June 13th? I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
So it's an inside job, is what you're saying.
Of just walking into a room and being like, Rage 2. You're like, wait, what? What? Whoa, wait, whoa. And then now we have time to really kind of think about like, what was it about Rage that we liked, didn't like, versus this is Rage 2, or this is this weird game. And we're like, what the heck is this? This is kind of cool. It's Rage 2. Oh, it's Rage 2. It's like, even if you were into the game they were selling, once they put the title on it, where, I don't know.
I feel like my counterpoint to that, though, is they've spaced out press conferences enough, and Bethesda has made a big enough deal of their own thing that, like, Rage 2 could have dominated that night a lot more thoroughly than I think it can now. Whereas I don't yes, it's getting extra buzz outside of E3, but I think that is going to diminish the excitement when Bethesda has their press conference.
If I was Bethesda, if I was Pete Hines, and Rage 2 was going to end your press conference, start with it now.
Yeah.
Literally just walk on the stage and be like, thank you so much for coming here, everybody. Rage 2. And we're like, oh, here we go. Okay. And
Yeah.
just like, oh, that's all right. Just
Smart.
like, get it out of the way.
Totally.
End it with Skyrim coming to phones.
Right. Yeah, end it with
Evil
that
Within
really
DLC.
weird Skyrim 6 teaser.
Evil Within DLC.
I need
That'd be
it.
exciting.
Or Elder Scrolls 6.
I'm on it. So bad.
Are we ready to answer some emails?
Let's do it.
Yes.
We're kind of all over the place with the leaks.
Just
but,
Cause 4.
Actually, before we move on, that is a question that I had for you specifically. So, I played Just Cause 2 and I liked Just Cause 2 a lot, and you really liked Just Cause 2.
Yeah.
You didn't just like Just Cause 2, you loved it. You treated it like a sacred child because like you played it for a very long time. I want to say years.
Yeah.
You did everything, or very nearly absolutely everything.
I was glitched out of getting everything. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Hate
So
that.
anyway, you loved it a
I
lot.
flew that helicopter around that thing in the ocean for so long, being like, where is it? Where's the thing I haven't blown up yet?
I remember Just Cause 3 and like that being your game. Like you were so excited for Just Cause 3, and then Just Cause 3 came out and Brandon reviewed it, and then you just stopped talking about it.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what happened?
Gameplay wise, they did almost everything right. They added a lot of really, really cool elements. And we're talking about with Borderlands 3, and this might seem like a ridiculous thing to add, but I think the gameplay was so new to me at the time when I played Just Cause 2. There was nothing else like it. So if I wanted that kind of thrill of like flying a plane and then just like, oh, there's a fighter jet. Now I'm standing on that fighter jet. I could still go back to Just Cause 2, and it was very different from Just Cause 1. So going into 3, a lot of those elements, I'm like, I've still done this, and I appreciate that I can attach two things together and those snap together. That was fun, and just it felt a lot better. But the world was a lot prettier. I felt it was like smaller in a weird way. Like 2 is that map might be still one of the biggest open world maps I've ever experienced. And the story and the characters I cared so little about, bordering on just leave me alone. Just stop talking to me. I just didn't. And it seemed like they were trying to piece together some weird story, and it was so disheartening to like be introduced to a new character and be like, wow, right away I don't care about you. And then they're like radioing in for help. I'm just like, I'm sorry, I don't care. And so I just think they have one of the most versatile, exciting, I don't know what you call it, engines or gameplay mechanics. I think not only just in games, but especially like in open world games. And I think they just need to. Oh boy, Battle Royale and Just Cause would be nutballs, but they just need to nutballs. They need to.
That almost triggered a second caught in a frame trap.
Yeah.
They need to take all these things that are really great and have more fun with it.
Sure.
Focus more on the stunts. Do something more that lets me have fun in that world and not bog it down with the story that. And it seems like, wow, story, that's the thing. But it's like, it's the structure of the game. It's the thing that I keep being reintroduced to. He's got like a brother that I'm supposed to care about and really
Brother
don't.
drama.
So
You know what I really like about Easy Allies, and Brendan has like definitively demonstrated it, I think, on this podcast. It's always bad form, I think, to say this is the thing I like about the company I work for, but I do like it, and I think it's worth pointing out. Like, I don't think if you weren't here, Brandon, I think Just Cause would get covered. We'd talk about it. We'd move on, but it wouldn't stick the way that it does for you. I love that you take it that extra step. Same with like Huber and Shenmue, Damiani and Zelda. I love that we all have these things that we'll dig in extra deep on, and that those are the things that really make us who we are. Because we can all cover games. We can all talk about games competently. We can all assign them numbers. But like, no one can talk about. None of us can talk about Just Cause 2 in comparison to Just Cause 3 the way that you just did, or SSX 3 Tricky. Maybe Kyle could. I don't want to throw Kyle under the bus there, but I like that. I like that a lot. So outside of that weird diversion, are you excited about Just Cause 4?
Oh, there's potential all over that game for sure. I don't know if they like learned anything from that game. I don't know. I think the big question is if they were like, Just Cause 3 went swimmingly, let's make another. Or if they're like, oh, okay, we thought we had it all, but clearly a lot of the gameplay stuff we got right, but just kind of the world structure. And I just need some kind of ownership over something. I need like a base I can build, or I need like something tangibly that I'm helping people with that I can see realized in the world. When I just went to a new area, I was like, okay.
Something you're attached to, whether that's story
right,
or a mechanic or like a leveling up something.
Because it's the
something
thing, like
to
in Just
invest
Cause 2, it was like, I'm not from here. So you have these like dictators that are like, who is this guy here? Get out of my world. And you're like, no, I'm going to come in and drop a nuke on your face because you shouldn't be messing with these people.
Yeah.
I'm Rico or whatever his name is. Like, I don't care, you know. And it just had such a great like cowboy vibe to it. And in this one, it's like, no, this is my hometown. That's where my mom lives. And I'm like, don't care. Like, don't. I just don't, you know? And it was like, and it just seemed to be like ping-ponging between like, he's so carefree and crazy. He's parachuting. Yeah, but his brother's in that car. You got to protect that car. And I'm like, make up your mind.
It's funny that you say that because that is something that's very frustrating about Borderlands.
Yeah.
Where it's most of the time it's extremely wacky and referential and fun, and then it's like, oh, now watch this character deal with an agonizing death. And it's like, this is not working for me. I'm sorry, I don't care. And it's tough because I think you can do that. Like Yakuza bounces between tones extremely well, but I think the reason why Yakuza bounces between the two different tones so well is because it kind of gives both an equal amount of time.
Main quest and side
It's always weird when you're doing a tone most of the time, and then when you're out in the world, that tone is going to constantly bounce back at you, and then when you turn in the quest, it's like, okay, now it's time to get serious.
Yeah.
Like you can't just shove it in a little bit.
Totally.
You really gotta, if you're going to do the serious, you're gonna play on the emotions, you gotta give it room to breathe, you gotta build up to it.
Yeah.
Right.
You've gotta lay the groundwork before just immediately
But
cashing
interesting,
in.
you brought up Yakuza. You can
Yeah.
buy a store, you can invest in it, you can hire people,
Yeah.
you can go back
Or you
and see how
don't
it's
have to.
or you don't have to.
Right.
Whereas in Just Cause 3, I can run around and blow stuff up. End of story. Period.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's it.
Okay,
I
are
love
we
cars and stuff, but
are we ready to move on to some emails?
Let's do it.
All right, talking about E3 here. This one is from Brandon. He says, hello, everyone. We are the middle of May, and E3 is getting ever closer. This is a time of year where I find myself watching previous coverage, trying to avoid rumor news. Hey!
Sorry.
For posterity purposes, thanks a lot, Walmart Canada. And gauging what others are thinking about for our gaming Christmas. By doing this, I play less and less up to the show, and I wanted to know, outside of scheduled streaming, do you play more, less, or about the same in the run-up to the show? By covering and attending E3, does all the prep work cut down on gaming for you? Thanks as always for taking my email, and stay easy, fellow allies.
Definitely play less. But then after E3 goes down, pedal to the metal. Because first off, E3 usually has a couple shadow drops, whether that's demos or full releases, or the game the E3 game. In this case, it's going to be Vampire, which comes around right about that time. The biggest thing though is that E3 gets me so hyped for new video games. It's just something, I just need to sink my teeth into something after E3. There's always that game I just dive in and binge on. Hopefully this year it's like Final Fantasy VI or something. Maybe it's time. Something meaty. After E3, you always got to take the deep dive into something.
E3 definitely colors what I want to play at the moment. I think I play about the same. I feel like I'm always playing stuff. Like, I can't think of any time since Easy Ally started where it's like, yeah, I'm playing way less games now. But I want to play Devil May Cry 5 right now because I'm so excited for Devil May Cry.
I'm playing Red Dead 1 right now in anticipation of Red
Right.
Dead 2, but who knows if that's even going to be at E3, which I really do think it is. I think the multiplayer reveal will be at E3, Brandon Jones. Everyone's like, oh, Rockstar, never there. Nope. Right. Multiplayer, E3, going down.
He said it,
tweets.
so it must be true.
He said it more than once, so every time he says it, it's like, oh, damn, that's the fourth time you've said it now. Uh-oh.
Brandon, does E3
Somebody's
affect your
listening.
gameplay habits?
If there's any time where someone isn't texting me or messaging me, or someone is not in my immediate vicinity that would like to speak with me, I'm playing video games. So, as 2 weeks out, there's very little I can do. That's why I love the mobile games, because it's always nice for those little 5-minute pockets where I do have some time. Mm-hmm. This E3 is interesting, though, because I can't think of an E3 prior where I have been so locked on to two very specific games that are happening 4 months after E3. I cannot recall when that's happened, where it's been like, yeah, but fall though. Where it's like, there's usually like, oh yeah, some fun stuff is coming out. I'm really curious about that. But just like Spider-Man and Red Dead, I want those games so bad that like, you're really going to have to announce something bonkers for me at that show for me to get distracted over those 2 games that I know are coming, which is kind of a good place to be. Other than probably the Builders 2 release date is kind of my big curiosity.
The Brandon Jones determination, like. There are so many times I think Brandon Jones wouldn't even throw his hat into the ring for a review because he's like, oh, I've got it covered. And every once in a while, there'll be times where it's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Is that cool? And he'll bring it up for conversation.
State of Decay 2 was one where I was like, just actually YouTube specifically. I checked in with both of you. Like, I kind of want to, but I don't.
Totally, Brandon. Please review State of Decay 2. But with Spider-Man, it is like destroy you.
Don't even joke about it.
Don't even joke about it. I am reviewing Spider-Man. This is not up for debate. I love it. It happens so rarely. Yeah.
Love it.
So yeah, that's my mindset going in, which is kind of nice. I'm kind of free. I feel like I'm really freeing about appointments. Like Blood is throwing some games at me, and I'm like, I'm good. He's like, you're a judge though. I'm like, oh right, yeah. I'm sorry. Sign me up for that. I should check that out. Yeah. But I want to diversify it amongst the team. I love hearing. I'm getting to the point now, and it might just be age, where like I like the Huber take much more than. Oh wait, no, I got to tell you about this game.
Right.
I would love to hear like what was Kyle's big game of the day, as opposed to like, something that I was.
We'll get that Resident Evil 2 take. Don't worry.
Ooh.
Oh, it's coming. Hopefully.
It hasn't already happened.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
3's like over 3 years ago.
It happened like an hour and a half ago.
Show me that.
Our next email comes in from Beer. I hope I pronounced that right. If I didn't, I'm really bad at pronunciations, as you probably know watching the show.
I want Beer now.
Playing Kratos as a father. Hey, allies. I agree with all the aspects that contributed to the fact that made God of War 10. However, there's one point that really annoys me playing Kratos, especially as a real-life father, his disgruntled behavior with his son. I understand why it's being done for dramatic purposes. It's the stereotype of the big bad anti-hero hero that tries to hide his emotions and then softens up later on. I can enjoy it when it happens on screen, such as in Leon the Professional, The Road, or There Will Be Bloodworth, as I'm detached from the character. However, when I play video games, I tend to project myself into the character, no matter if it is a written character or a customized one. As a father who believes in encouragement of your kid and surrounding him with positive vibes, it hurts me every time Kratos is miserable towards Atreus. I know Kratos is mellowed down in comparison to older games, and there's probably a big relationship payoff. No spoilers, please. How do you guys feel about this? Have you had a game where the character motivation behavior was an issue for you while the game was great? So that's really the point I want to focus on. We can talk about God of War if you want, but has a character's attitude prevented you from enjoying a game or their motivation?
Resident Evil 6, Chris Redfield.
Yeah.
It's so miserably terrible. Oh my God, Chris is such a... Yes, that is a good answer, Huber.
Oh, but I didn't enjoy the game, so I guess that's not really one I can bring up.
Right.
Because I'm supposed to enjoy the game, damn it.
He's the worst. Like, Leon's fine.
Rise of the Tomb Raider?
Oh, I didn't play
I don't
Rise.
care what the hell you're doing, Laura, but this game's all right.
I mean, but that's more that you didn't care, not that her behavior was so off-putting, was it?
Yeah, but like... What is she even doing? We brought up Borderlands earlier. Where we beat both of them, and we can't remember a damn thing. That is.
I'm amazed that I can't remember what happened at the end of Borderlands.
And that is no fault of us. Like that's not. I feel like that's not our fault.
I think it is partly my fault. I have a bad memory.
Okay, but like, you beat Tomb Raider 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Can you like remember key plot details or like key character?
No. Oh, yeah. I didn't beat Rise of the Tomb Raider. I beat 2013 Tomb Raider.
Okay.
Also don't remember what happened.
But yeah, going through two entire games and me not being able to tell you like anything meaningful, I think that's something. Maybe it's not exactly the point, but it is. I'm playing a game about a character in spite of that character. It was interesting. I don't know. I liked the original Tomb Raider, but the newer one, like you always say, like, be the Batman. Right? Haven't we been the Batman? Right. Rise of the Tomb Raider. Aren't we already the Tomb Raider? Like, haven't we been through this?
This is gonna hurt you, Huber. And this is kind of a gray area because I didn't love this game to begin with, but I didn't hate it either. I think Aiden Pierce sucks. I think he's a terrible character.
I'm weird, and I liked Aiden Pierce.
Yeah.
I think because there's so many heavy Batman vibes.
Watch Dogs, right?
Yeah.
Aiden Pierce.
And it just came out.
Detracted from my enjoyment of that game.
I can totally see it. 100%. I really like that archetype of a character, that morally gray, has had a very, very intense past. Someone close to him died. Like, he's done really shady stuff. He's looking for redemption, but he's also, like, not afraid to get his hands dirty. That's the only reason, So.
I got one.
That's a good one, though. That's a really good one.
And it's fun. I think it'll help balance out this podcast a little bit because I'm going to take a giant steamy dump on Rockstar right now. It's without a doubt the worst, other than the characters from Manhunt. I didn't really care for it, but that was just kind of like more the game in general.
I don't think Manhunt's very good.
But Vice City Stories is like the pit of the GTA universe. And admittedly, it's like they did Liberty City Stories, which I thought was really interesting, which is very closely tied to the events. It's a prequel, so it's very closely tied to the events of GTA 3. And you're playing as a character that is in Grand Theft Auto 3. And then Vice City Stories, I think I remember playing that and being like, wow, they are tired. Like, they are just exhausted over there at Rockstar, and they're just like, we are so out of ideas. And it was fun revisiting some of the characters from Vice City, but like, in Vice City, you play Tommy Vercetti, this guy who's just probably one of the more straightforward, I don't give a crap bad guys.
Here's how
and
it
was
is.
just a full-on, unapologetic gangster, 24/7.
Yeah.
Does not care.
I got to be honest with you. You built it up in such a way, and I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, damn! He's gonna take a swing at his idols.
GTA 5
he's gonna
or
take
something.
he's gonna I don't know what he's gonna say." And then Vice City Stories just didn't really land with me.
Well, but I think the reasons why it's worth mentioning just for me is because there's a very common critique that I hear of the games in Rockstar, where they're like, you present these characters that are very conflicted, that have these moral issues that they're trying, that often have someone attached to them that they are responsible for, or that will help them guide their moral compass. And then they go out and they rob a bank, or they go out and they're blowing up something, and it just doesn't make sense to me. And for me, I think I can see that. I've never directly had a problem with that. And I think one of the reasons why is I think Rockstar does a good job of at least setting up reasons why they would. So you have Nico, who like in some ways very much wants to be a nice guy in GTA 4, but he does have this past. He does have a lot of really, really bad things, kind of in a Kratos way too, that he's done before. So when someone gets in his way and he's just like, pop, I don't want to deal with you, it's like, okay, I can understand how that would just be an extension of him that he just naturally calls
Nico
on for the things that he wants to do. Yes. I love some people don't, but I love the triad of Michael and Trevor. And Franklin from GTA 5. I think they all kind of represent different, almost kind of like the three different types of personalities that you would typically get. Vice City Stories very specifically at the beginning, he says, I'm out. I don't want to do this stuff. Makes a point. I'm ex-military. I just got out. I'm out of wartime. I don't want to deal with violence. I have these goals, and that is all I want to do in life. And then not only can you take him and go, steal an ice cream truck and run people over, but almost every single mission that you do, it just almost, I think one of the qualities of Red Dead that I think that game takes a little bit of a hit is that Marston puts up with a lot in that promises are made to him. He meets with someone and is like, I want to do this, and they're like, okay, do this thing for me first, and he's like, all right, and then does that, and they're like, now do this for me, and he's like, and he just keeps doing that again and again. I don't even remember the protagonist's name from Vice City Stories, so I'll leave it at that. I don't want to drag on about that too much. But
speaking of Rockstar protagonists you don't like, I don't like Max in Max Payne 3. And I know that you probably disagree.
It. He
is dumb.
Yes.
He is just not smart.
I mean, Max Payne 1 and 2 are my childhood.
Max Payne 1 and 2 are fantastic.
In my opinion. Yes, straight up childhood. Yes. So 3 I was against when it came out, against when I got it. I loved it when it came out, but I was not attached to Max at all at that time within 3. Mm-hmm. But then I revisited it for a Hero Syndrome, and I was like, dude,
you're into it?
I didn't get I got a couple hours in, but I was like, this is better than I remember.
So the thing for me and Max is we're talking about tortured protagonists.
Yeah.
And they're very much trying to do that Max is not in a good place, but they hit it on the nose so hard that they break it. With you mentioned Nico Bellic. Right. Yeah. You mentioned Nico Bellic, and I think why it works is you do a lot of stuff in that game. It's not constantly banging at you. It'll just flare up at specific calculated moments. With Max, anytime anything comes out of his mouth, it's I'm so you're just drowning in his misery.
Yeah, and
that it becomes too much.
You get what you pay for.
Right. It's it's not believable anymore, and it's not sympathetic. It's just kind of tedious.
Not sympathetic. I think it was the main thing for me.
Yeah.
Like when he screwed up for like the 8th time, I was like, Max, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy.
Yeah.
So
My favorite
Figure it out.
mechanic is being able to have a pistol in one hand and hold the shotgun in the other, just the way he does it. Really cool mechanic. Like going up to a wall and like having a shotgun here, but like using your pistol.
that sounds like a thing you would say.
Yeah. Really cool mechanic.
We're all being ourselves
Haven't
today.
really seen that mechanic come back.
Unfiltered.
I like it a lot.
I think the game is fun.
Yeah.
I don't love the game, but the max stuff.
The
Was,
way a body crumples when you shoot a dude in the head is top tier. The lifeless crumple.
every once in a while, you say something about killing that is a little unsettling.
Tier lifeless
Yeah,
crumples.
like don't you like. You're probably right, but
Announcing we've finally hit our 46K tier on patreon.com/easyallies. We're going to be doing top 10s. Our first
Lifeless-
top 10 lifeless crumples.
Max Payne 3 has gotta be like the top.
Lifeless
Some good kills.
our last email of the day. I think you'll like
I
this.
got to leave this podcast. I think I'm
Yeah.
finished.
The only thing that could counterbalance
Yo, you want some of these lifeless
crumples.
Yeah, I think you said that.
The only thing that can counterbalance lifeless crumples is the majesty of tropical freeze.
Okay,
is the title of this. This is from Sam.
So tempting. I never finished it. So tempting on the Switch there.
Switch
Dude,
it
it's great. When it first came out, I didn't finish it either.
Well, I got to do
Pure
Played through it on
happiness.
Wii U
first, and then
a while ago. It was good. It's great. It's great.
I think
it's
the
great.
thing that deterred me from it is I was not good. I was like, ooh, I need
That's
to
part of why it's great.
I need to put up or shut up here.
Yeah.
And I shut up.
No.
I feel
Put
like
up.
it's like that old NES
Put up.
style though, where
Yeah.
like you'll get to a part and you kind of just grind it out. It's like okay, kind of
Well-
die a bunch and redo it, and you'll get through it.
I think it's like at this nice because there are some NES games that are just kind of pure bullshit.
NES,
It's
but
not
in,
quite
like,
there.
2018.
Yeah, yeah.
Auto saves.
Yeah.
Continues.
Hi, Ben and Allies. The Switch is the first. It's challenging. Switch is the first Nintendo console I've ever owned. Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Of course, I've dabbled before with friends' systems. This is the first time I've gotten to play Nintendo games on my own terms. Obviously, it's been a delight playing Breath of the Wild and Odyssey. But after hearing the Allies rhapsodize, I love that, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for years, I was excited beyond words when the Switch version was announced. I'm thrilled to report it has somehow exceeded expectations.
Yes.
Brandon.
Nice.
Yes.
I just got into Grassland Grove, and it was
Oh.
honestly so beautiful that I nearly wept. The
Kyle,
lovely,
I think, wept.
the lovely African music, the waving draft heads, the sun-drenched landscapes. The only word for it is majestic. I love this email.
Yeah.
When the choir sings Donkey Kong's name at the end, it didn't feel silly. It felt glorious. This is a very well articulated
That's a good
email.
review right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow this dorky game about apes and Viking penguins managed to achieve genuine grandeur. It got me thinking about the difference between playing a game and watching it, reading about it, or listening to people talk about it. I've heard David Wise's delightful soundtrack many, many times on Bosman v. Wozniak and elsewhere, but actually hearing it in my headphones as it reacts to my actions, not merely witnessing it, but sensing it ebbing and flowing, is much more thrilling. Feeling the weight of Donkey Kong pounding the ground more in exuberance than in anger is that much more exciting. What's an example of a game that managed to top even your most out-of-control expectations? What other games have evoked a sense of grandeur and majesty as well as Grassland Grove? And what do you think about the importance of actively feeling a game in this age of streaming? A lot of really good points that you brought up in here. Let's start with the first section of that. What succeeded even your most out-of-control expectations?
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2.
Wait,
For totally different reasons.
hold on. What? Like, what? I'm thinking specifically of like the PS1 Spider-Man and maybe some.
Not Inter-Electro.
No. PS2.
The PS2
Spider-Man
No,
2.
I know what you're talking
classic,
about, but
right.
like, what did you have built up in your mind that was so out of
okay.
control? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Just how good it felt. That I was looking at videos and I was like, there's no way. And I remember the one moment where I was like laughing, like, maniacally. I was like, this is so great. It was not an exterior, it was actually an interior. And it was a boss fight. I think it was Shocker, actually. And I was in an area And the way, we're hoping, with this new one that I shoot a web, it attaches to something, and then until I decide to shoot another web at something else, I am tethered to that spot specifically. And so it was fun going through and left hand, right hand, like webbing through the city. But it's specifically a boss fight in a closed arena. And I remember like webbing to try to get away from him, and I hit a spot that was almost in the dead center of the ceiling of the room, and I just did this. I just swooped around like a ceiling fan, and he was like shooting at me and couldn't get at me, and I was just like, yeah, like the physics of this game are working like they should in all instances. And I thought every time I would go to an interior of that game, it's like, okay, it stopped being fun. Let me just go, oh yay, I'm back outside again, and now I can enjoy it.
Cool interiors.
Was that the happiest you've ever been?
And just zipping around in a boss fight. It was close, man.
Okay.
I mean, it was, yeah.
I believe you. That sounded like I was being sarcastic.
Yeah.
Genuine probe. Yeah.
It was up there.
Exceeded your wildest expectations.
Expectations, unobtainium. Is that the Avatar thing? Anyway, expectations.
How dare you?
Ridiculous. Surpassed them to be one of my favorite games of all time. Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous expectations. Batman is like the only thing I love more than Resident Evil. Like how could it ever live up? How could it ever even match my crazy expectations? And it just, it's one of those moments where I will always remember exactly where I was in the exact moment, very beginning when Croc comes up the elevator. It was that exact moment will be ingrained in my brain for the rest of my life. I remember sitting in my living room, booting it up, playing it. I'd gone down to the local mall to pick up a copy and got home.
That's a great answer.
Got the collector's edition, was all in for it. Croc comes up, and I'm just like, oh my God, what? I've got your scent, Batman. So rad.
Now I want to play Asylum again.
So cool. I've got your scent.
Man, I got a lot to pick from. I'm just gonna land on these two. One, because I think maybe it's unexpected for people, but Mass Effect 2 was one. Dude, I really liked Mass Effect 1 a lot. I did. I liked it, and so of course I was gonna play 2. 2, I adored at a level I did not think I could.
Me too.
When I started getting into 2, it got to I was in college, and it was like, fuck this, fuck class,
everything,
fuck friends, everything. Like
100%ing it.
You're all like going in the closet until I finish this and I see what's going to happen. And I remember like really being on the edge of my seat during the suicide mission as well. And without looking at anything, I managed to get everybody through, which was awesome.
Lost like one person.
But I played that long game in a very short amount of time. Like it was all I did. But I think even beyond that, like my expectations for Bayonetta 2 were unreasonable. I loved Bayonetta 1. It was a game that I wanted all my friends to play. I loved it so much. I loved Bayonetta as a character. I loved the way it felt. I loved the outlandishness of it. And so my excitement for Bayonetta 2 was unreal, and even though I think I prefer Bayonetta 1, I would say Bayonetta 2 exceeded my expectations. That game, it was one, I remember, this is a good way to crystallize it. I was settled on a 9.8, and that was a very high score for us. It was like the highest score we'd given. And both Brandon Jones and Bloodworth are like, are you sure? And like, I had no doubts.
No qualms.
I did not doubt myself at all. I was like, yes, this is absolutely what this game deserves.
And whatever it is in a person that you can tell that they they believe in the strength of their convictions. I remember like looking you in the eye and being like, okay.
Yeah, that was it. I was like, yep,
I have no doubts.
I'm 100% confident that this, and that doesn't always happen with me with scores. Scores can be tricky, and a lot of times I doubt myself, but Bayonetta 2 is like, it has to be this. Yeah. I would not let anybody talk me down, so.
Hype.
Yeah.
Bayonetta 3 is coming.
Dude, I'm spent. Like, just this frame trap has spent me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's good.
3 hours, 40 minutes. Thanks for sticking around.
Record, baby.
Probably not.
No, that's not the
record's close to 5.
I think the record's like 3 hours, 55 minutes.
Really?
We have not. I don't think we've ever broken 4.
I can talk about just cause 3 more.
I could have sworn we
stretch it out.
It'll come. Someday.
I know.
Come.
We had to throw Red Dead over. I'm kind of bummed about it. It's all right. Next time, because I'm still going through it anyway. So it'll be brought up.
We'll
we'll get
talk
there.
about Red Dead again.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
I just
we'll
want to
talk
say
about
the
Red Dead
Xbox backwards compatibility is
Yeah.
a gem.
Yeah.
My
How cool is it?
Goodness.
Burnout Revenge just came out on
My
there. Sweet.
Goodness.
Sweet.
I'm not even playing Red Dead with a 4K patch, just the 1080p upres that it is,
Yeah.
and it is gorgeous.
Nice.
4K, everyone is like, oh my god, it looks so great. I've watched like Digital Foundry videos, like
Well, now I got to see it.
Wizards.
Now I got to see it in 4K.
you should just do it because I heard it looks like a brand new game.
All right. Well, we're going to go off to maybe play Red Dead. Brandon's probably going to play Red Dead.
PixelJunk.
PixelJunk. Yeah.
Right now.
Thank you all if you stuck around this far. If you want to find out more about us, go to patreon.com/easyallies. We talk in this way a lot about video games. If that's something you dig, find more of it there. Thank you so much to sticking with me
Absolutely.
for the 3 hours and 40 minutes, Michael Huber.
I really think a
that's me.
PixelJunk Steam World crossover
Whoa.
is too jolly.
Too jolly.
Pure magic.
Yeah. I don't know if the world deserves that. Like, I don't know if the world is good enough to get that thing.
Yeah.
Steam World Monsters.
Yeah. And Brandon Jones at the end there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will see you next time.